The D and Davis Show.
D and Davis Show. We've missed you. We hope you've missed us.
Yes.
We're here, Demaz, Ryan, and myself. We got a lot to get into. We got a basketball heavy show, even though the crosstown game is just beginning right now. It's tied up 1-1. The White Sox are on first. But we got Sean Highkin from the Bleacher Report to break down national NBA news, free agency, and draft. And then to continue that, of course, national, because he can do it too, but more of a local focus. We're going to have Darnell Mayberry from the Athletic Shot to join us. So we got a lot of basketball to get into, and we hope that you're hungry for it because the draft is this Thursday. I am Kenneth Davidson. The voice you hear right after mine is
D. Demond. What's going on, everybody? Hey, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at D and Davis Show. Once again, it's at D and Davis Show. We're on Facebook.com, so go to Facebook.com/D and Davis Show. Let's see, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Music, Stitcher, TuneIn app. We're on Anchor and YouTube. Check this out, Spotify as well. Hey, man, we're everywhere. You can download the show, D and Davis Show and D and Davis, The Flip. Let's see, I'm on Twitter, Demons1, DEMONZE1. Ken is on Twitter at That's Davis. Executive producer of the D and Davis Show and D and Davis Flip, one Mr. Ryan Bukoveski. Make sure you follow Ryan on Twitter at Ryan Beaski.
one thing I want to open up the show, and these last weeks have made it even more apparent. When Tony left the show, I think me and Tony talked about it, and the first thought was you, then perhaps Jason, because we wanted it to be white. Joking. But
just picked up on that.
No, but again, because you already had edited the show in the past. Mm-hmm. But that's a small to everything that you've done, taking over EP. You've exceeded any expectation, and it's definitely been a plus, and we really appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely. I'm glad to do with you guys. This is always a highlight of my week.
Yeah, this is.
I appreciate it, brother.
You've been doing very well, and it is nothing but a pleasure and a benefit.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah.
But look, this is what I wanted to get into with you guys about real quick.
What you got?
So did y'all see the sheriff rather, and Usai Majiri, the president of the Toronto Raptors case, said that his jaw was injured and he has a concussion?
Oh man, get the hell out of here. Are you serious? He said that?
Yeah, he's not even working right now.
He was jaw jacking with Majiri. Right then and there. What concussion did he get?
When Mashai hit him upside his head.
Yeah, it was a hard face shove. Come on. We all know those are concussion prone.
That's that was the most powerful mush ever of all mushes.
This is the thing real quick. Africans don't necessarily punch. It's more of a open muff hit, but it's so strong and stiff. It's like a stiff arm, basically. And dude is like 6'6", 6'7". That ain't a regular man hitting him in his face. I'm just saying if it happened. Now, we've heard reports that, some of the bystanders said that necessarily what was reported wasn't necessarily true.
Yeah, it wasn't true. Yeah.
But I will say this from what we've heard.
I believe the bystanders.
Yeah, but look, Brian Windhurst on ESPN today was saying that Usai Majiri did not have the proper credential.
How do you not have the proper credential?
Because there was an extra credential for the floor that he didn't have there. That's what Brian Windhorst said. He did not have. So, for instance, like me and you, we'll put it like this: if me and you were there, and I'm not saying we would have the same as Usai Majiri, we would have press passes or whatever. But we may not have the credential to get us on the floor after the championship has been won. There may have only been certain people, like for instance, ABC was so ESPN people. They may have been only a few people that had that, and players, or well, not players are already there, but there may have been only people that had that. But Brian Windhurst said today he did not have that credential.
Okay, do you think that Jerry West would need that credential?
No.
All right.
But to be honest with you, I don't think Jerry West would have came down there. Like,
you don't think Jerry West would have been on the floor if they won a championship?
How many times did you see him with the
we all know he's old.
No. How many times since he just left Golden State?
No. I'm sure he was on the floor when they won championship.
I don't remember ever seeing Jerry West.
But he was more of a consultant at the time, right?
True.
Okay. Hey, another example. Danny Ainge. Do you think Danny Ainge would have went through something like this?
No, because that cop would have been like, I remember the Celtics from back then. Danny, come on through. I don't.
So you're proving my point.
No, again.
Come on, y'all.
But to say that every white person knows who Usami Ujiri wouldn't be true.
No, I'm just saying
He may not be a basketball fan. What?
No. That could be possible.
It's a lot of
that could be possible.
Yeah.
Yes. The demographic does not skew to a 50-plus-year-old white man.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that at all.
Basketball guy.
But I have a feeling
that wasn't the same security that's been there all week.
So that was my only point. We talked about this before.
They was heightened.
They turned it up because it's the last game in Oracle, and the NBA said, "Hey, let's just make sure everything's fine."
At the beginning of the series, no one's about to win. That was an elimination game. True. So I don't necessarily know if that cop, even if he was there all this time, that sheriff, or if he was even at that position all the time. But what the stuff that's dripping out, and again, his story may not be false. I mean, maybe false, but some of it clearly is true. And I would think Brian Windhorst isn't going to lie.
No,
he would do a thorough enough check to make sure if Masai actually had that credential or not.
Do we think that there was microphones? We saw cameras, obviously, but do you think microphones was around? Because remember the guy in who was it? Where was Utah? And he went back and forth with Russ. We knew that there was some type of microphone somewhere because everything is picked up. Look at where
it was at. Well, look at when he went back with Russ in Utah. Where was he sitting?
It was on the sideline.
It wasn't on the baseline.
It's baseline, but they have
there's mic. So I'm saying the mic configuration is on the baseline.
But if we're on the floor of the NBA Finals, I'm thinking microphones are everywhere.
Where are the microphones at, D?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
They're going to be where the players are gathering.
I mean, we on the floor. It's so many reporters down there. It's so many TV cameras down there. That's what I'm saying. But D, I'm sure someone could probably pick that up.
Where would they be at, D? They're going to be where the play. Think about it. We've only seen that one footage. If we're going on what you're saying, I'm
sure there's more footage out there too.
But it would have come out by now.
It depends on the investigation.
It's been a week.
True.
It would have come out by now.
With social media and leaks, people do put things out there.
The police department
could be part of the investigation. I don't know.
Isn't releasing body cam that they have right now. They said they were not investigation.
That was going to be my second point. I'm sure he probably had a body cam on. So listen, man. I think what you're saying and what Brian Windhorst is saying is valid. I'm not discounting that, but I think you have to definitely look at the people who was right there on the sidelines, the owner of the hardware store and his son, who gave kind of like a play-by-play account of what happened. So I definitely think you got to look at that. And if that's right there on top of all the cameras, all the media that's right there on the sideline, because if someone picked that up, and it wasn't that was like some cell phone footage, and it was two angles to that. You got the behind Ujiri footage, and you got the side footage. So if it's two angles out there, there's going to be a third or fourth or a fifth. And then typically we've been doing media for quite a long time. We went to school for it. If you have cameras, there's a microphone. The only reason I say maybe the microphone wouldn't be that great is because there's so much going on at that particular time. Cheering, noise, music. Maybe they can't pick up the verbatim conversation or argument that they were having. But I'm sure there's probably some audio out there. Maybe it won't be admissible in court. Maybe they probably, 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to drop this. They're probably going to say,
I don't know what dropping's coming.
You don't think they're going to drop it?
There's going to be some cash exchanged on this one.
Oh, bump that.
I thought I thought they was going to back the cop up, but he just doubled down. When he's out.
I got a concussion.
He's out, right? He's not working. You know what that means?
Oh, that Negro has money. I'm going to go after him. That's what I think.
Time to get up from deputy.
Yeah.
Time to get a bump up.
Be Boss Hawk next year.
Hey, Bob, I don't feel too good right about now. Come on, man. Come on.
How am I
You think he'll be suing? We're not saying he's suing. You think he'll be talking about he got a concussion if it was some Joe Blow cat off the street from Oakland?
I'm not saying that.
Would he have a concussion if Danny Ainge threw the shove?
There you go. Danny Ainge just throws towels.
I bet you would have.
Danny Ainge throws towels in the air.
Look, so Al Horford isn't going back to the Celtics as of today.
He going back.
No, they said that contract.
I thought he was going to work it out.
It's perished. That's what the reports are right now.
And I think he said that they were going to try to work on a new agreement.
No, that's what they were saying earlier today and yesterday. There is a gulf between them, and what's reported right now is But again, they were supposed to be one of those wink deals, and this is from Adrian Wojnarowski. Adrian saying that the Celtics deal is perished with too great of a gulf between the Celtics are willing to offer and that what Horford wants in long term, league sources say.
What's going on in Boston?
Dude, they may have to flip the whole thing again.
Yeah.
But they know that keeping Al Horford, even though his numbers don't show his intangibles, but still with what they may have to do moving forward, because one, they're skewing young. Again, I would like to keep him. I mean, that's definitely keep him. That's $30 million he walked away from. So, I mean, again, think about this. They're not going to give him his money. He wants his $30 million. He just wants you to stretch it out some. And when I mean stretch it out,
you want more deals on the deal.
I want 20
years on his deal.
I want 3 for 20, right? Something in that way, right? So by the second year, I basically got the $30 million back or whatever. And
a little something more.
No, and again, they're not contending now. As far as what we know, they could be better next year. Get back to where they was the season before,
and that's because you're saying Kyrie is definitely gone as well.
Yeah, well, not the fact just that Kyrie is gone. The fact that what we expected to happen along with Kyrie had he stayed. We thought they were going to go out and get another star player to go along Kyrie. So Kyrie leaving just doesn't affect the fact that you're open at point guard or you got to sign Terry Rozier or whoever where you go. Or again, Mike Conley is a player that's been mentioned in interest for that team. But you thought perhaps he was going to be able to get you the AD to maybe sign a prolonged deal. So, and Danny Ainge has always wanted Anthony Davis. Like, that's one of the things that he has, and it's funny going forward. Looking at Sean Highkin's timeline today, he was talking about the Celtics pivoting on Giannis, and that being the new Anthony Davis, where we knew from the last 3 years Danny Ainge wanted Anthony Davis, that now Giannis is going to be the player that the Celtics are like, yeah, Danny Ainge really wants Giannis, and that's who he's going to be feeding to Celtics fans. That's who we're going to go out there and get, and they're probably not going to end up getting him.
I was going to ask, do you think that this Horford thing is an indicator that maybe Kawhi, KD, some of the big names that are available, are they going to try to make a run at all with potentially Kyrie's contract being up and gone?
Oh, Boston?
You mean Boston signing two guys?
No. Boston releasing Horford and losing Kyrie to either get a Kawhi or KD or one of the top guys on the market.
I'll tell you this.
I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility.
Kawhi isn't going to stay in the East and not be
in Toronto.
It wouldn't even make sense.
Yeah.
So
unless Ujiri leaves.
Huh?
Then maybe if Ujiri leaves, but it's kind of like it's up in the air.
But he would go home then. Mm-hmm. The Clippers are asking you to come, and Horford. The Clippers are one of the teams mentioned to be going after Horford. Even though I don't know exactly how well that'll work. I mean, he'll be a good piece. I don't know if he could be a star piece. But again, Kawhi, we could say he didn't have stars. I think Pascal Siakam is growing into one, and at times Kyle Lowry in this postseason flirted with being one. Not to say that they are bona fide stars whatsoever, but when you're looking at it, no, Boston's making all their moves through trades. Like, that's what's going to end up happening.
But also, Boston has so much to trade. They still have a lot of picks. They still have a lot of assets to go.
Yeah, but look at what they got this year. They got 3 picks, and it's like 10, 20, and 22. Like, in this draft.
Oh, yeah, no, listen.
And the value that we kept hearing, the value of these picks, picks.
They're not paying, and that's why my first question was like, damn, what's happening to Boston? Because you look at them in the future, it's like, oh, man, they're going to be set. They have, all these assets. They have this young talent. They're right there. They could be a definitely potential to win it all. You lose Kyrie, all right, you still have Terry, because if Kyrie goes, basically, okay, you're going to re-up Terry.
They may not keep Terry.
So they're going to have a lot of cap under the space. A lot of space up under the cap. Yeah, I know, right? A lot of space up under the cap.
Well, you're going to have to end up, but this is the thing.
You got all this money now.
But they're going to have to sign one of those players that are there, if not both, are going to end up getting signed.
Jimmy.
Then they may trade. There have been mention already of them still moving Tatum, Brown, and/or Brown with a pick to acquire perhaps Anthony Beal.
I wouldn't do that.
I just hope, man, listen. This crazy thing, Anthony Beal is only 25.
Bradley?
Thank you, Bradley Beal. I'm sorry. In my head.
Oh, okay. I knew you were talking about. I still wouldn't do it.
I know. I thought you did. I knew you did.
Yeah, I know you were talking about. I'm not moving all that for Bradley Beal. Are you kidding me? Not unless I'm about to add Bradley Beal to that core.
I'm with you.
It ain't no way in the world I do.
That's all Brad Stevens is missing is a knockdown shooter, right?
Hey, there you go. I still like Boston's core. I still like the young core. If I was them, maybe
assuming they keep it in a trade.
And listen, if they end up trading those young guys, basically it's like, okay, we're just throwing it up and we're just going to look into the future another 4 or 5 years from now. You have young talent. Anybody would want around the league. Don't give that up. I know we kind of poo-pooed on Brad Stevens and his coaching this year, but you still have one of the best young. Well, I don't say he's a young coach anymore, but you still have one of the top coaches in the NBA. All right, you go ahead and try to re-sign Terry Rozier if that's possible. Okay, you lose out on Kyrie. All right, you kind of figure he's going within the division. He's going to the Nets. Al Horford, hey, maybe he'll leave. He goes somewhere. You have cap space, but you still have a young core that you could build around. And let's just say Kawhi does want to go back home. The East is kind of open again. It's open. Are we banking on Philadelphia being that team that's going to be like, oh, yeah, okay.
If they stay healthy.
But they got to stay healthy.
But, I mean, they were healthy enough this year.
Milwaukee is the one clear cut. But we got to see if Giannis kind of develops his game a little bit more.
This is the thing. You would have
Brogdon going to be there?
Those two teams. Wait, no, it's not.
Okay.
You're not jumping over those two teams.
Boston was fourth this year, right? All I'm saying is you have Toronto if Kawhi leaves, and you have Milwaukee. We got to see what development they have in Philadelphia.
That's fourth with Horford and Kyrie gone. So that's not the same fourth right there. And we still don't know, are we going to get the same returns on Tatum and Brown as we did when they were the players they were the season before when Kyrie was out majority of the season. Because remember, that was Tatum's rookie year.
It was.
All right, so we don't know exactly who. We don't have a definite definition of who he exactly is right now. So, no, they're not better than a healthy. All these teams I'm going to say is healthy. They're not better than Milwaukee. No. They're not better than Philadelphia. And I'll tell you this. If Toronto holds that team together and Masai, let's say Masai stays there and they make a move or two, I wouldn't put them ahead of Toronto because Toronto, even with Kawhi gone, they still got Pascal Siakam. Yeah. That's the thing about Kawhi staying in Toronto. And he could sit there and OG Anunoby was injured this postseason. He could sit there and have his running mate like. Toronto isn't necessarily plateauing because Pascal Siakam 2 years from now may be a definite all-star. Like he'll get selected this year if he's healthy. But I mean like a definite, like, oh yeah, that's that guy right there. Mm-hmm. And like he's growing. What happened if his shot becomes locked in? Like you already
lot of what ifs.
No, but no, he do.
A lot of what ifs.
He's one of the best finishing players in the league in transition. Mm-hmm. That's not going away. He's freaky at transition, and I'm not even talking about his defense.
And you're saying he'd be able to do all this without Kawhi there, right? That's a whole other different kind of pressure.
I'll give you that, but I said someone else.
How is Lowry that dude? No, he's not. He's an ancillary piece. Can Siakam step up and be that next dude? It's always hot. Hey, listen, when you talk about coaching, you move one seat over, it's a lot more pressure on that. So can he take on that pressure? Like, okay, now Kawhi's gone. Are you that dude?
They got the coach. Talking about young coaches, Nick Nurse.
Yeah, Nick Nurse.
Guess who's better than your Brad Stevens? Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
All right.
At least for this season, it was. Yeah.
All right. So I'm just saying, I'm not looking at you. I'm comparing them. Whoa, okay. Comparing them to Boston. Which team would you rather be after losing their star players? You want to be Boston after losing Al Horford and Kyrie, or just the champions and losing Kawhi?
Man, losing Kawhi,
and he missed. They won majority of the games. He was out. He was gone this year.
17-5.
Yeah, like that ain't. Dude,
and remember there was a number one seed a couple of years in a row.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
like this isn't. Some
but that was also with DeMar DeRozan too with Kyrie. Now you gotta. Now we know
that's who.
Wait. But we know
you making all these ancillary pieces and talking. That's who.
But we know what DeMar DeRozan did up there. He was a perennial all-star. We gotta see if Siakam takes that next step and becomes that perennial all-star.
Siakam will be better than DeMar DeRozan.
All right. We're going to keep this national NBA talk going with Sean Highkin of the Bleacher Report. Going to have some more fun, all right? D and Davis Show.
What's up, everybody? It's Cameron Smith from CBS 2 Chicago. You're listening to the D and Davis Show.
D and Davis Show, and lucky enough right now we have Sean Highkin, who covers the NBA for Bleacher Report, joining us. Sean, real quick, looking at your timeline today, I noticed you pointed out that when CP3 took part in negotiating in the last CBA, that the max contract basically only benefited him and LeBron. And I was unsure, was that the 10-year length or was that the part where you can get up to 30% of the team's cap? Could you break that down for us?
Well, the part that he negotiated up from where it was before was that it used to be that you couldn't really get the full max deal, and this was something that was in the CBA to kind of protect owners from giving these huge contracts to these guys as they aged out of their primes. The rule used to be under the old CBA that a guy couldn't get the full max, like the regular max contract, if he was going to be turning 36 over the course of the contract. And so so when they negotiated a new CBA, one of the things that Chris Paul really pushed for was to change that rule and bump it up to now it's like you can still get the max contract as long as you're not going to be turning 38 during the deal. And so he basically did that so that him and LeBron could continue to get paid as they kind of had as they've gotten older and as they kind of get towards the end of their careers, they're still going to be able to make that max money. And now, you look at this situation that they're in right now in Houston, where Chris Paul seems like wants out, and there's really nowhere for them to trade that contract to because he's making so much money at the age that he's at. He's 34 right now. He's still got 3 years left on the deal. He's going to be 37 by the time it's over. So I'm not really sure what they're going to do.
You think about last week, it seemed like allegedly everyone was for sale in Houston. But after what took place with Golden State, with losing Klay Thompson and Durant for the entire season, Klay for the majority of the season, is Houston prepared now to run it back due to the fact that, as you just mentioned, they can't do anything? Or are they going to run it back now because without Golden State, they see the lane is there and they think this is finally their chance to break through?
Well, one thing about Daryl Morey, their GM, is that he's always been pretty aggressive in looking for deals. And I know there are guys, even beyond Chris Paul, there are guys that he's going to be looking to move. I'm sure teams are going to call about PJ Tucker. Guys are going to call about Clint Capella. There are other guys on that roster that I think would draw some interest from other teams, and maybe one of those guys that can package with Chris Paul to kind of move. I don't know if I don't know how substantial of moves they're going to make. They're kind of hamstrung by that contract and some of their other contracts. So. But I think it definitely they have to feel. I mean, you kind of saw the same thing. It seemed like they were basically trying to make Mike D'Antoni quit or basically do everything but fire him. They fired his whole coaching staff out from under him. And then once the Warriors looked like they were vulnerable in the finals, and these is even before the Durant and Klay Thompson injuries, now maybe suddenly they're looking at it, they're like, hey, wait a minute, we can actually make a run at this. I just don't know if the dynamic between Chris Paul and James Harden is really as bad as Vinny Goodwill's report today and Yahoo said it was. I don't know how they're going to be able to negotiate that over the course of the season.
Last Houston question. Best case scenario, what happens for the team? You mentioned the Clint Capella. I did see a Boston Clint Capella deal floated around earlier. What's the best case scenario with CP3 there or without CP3 there?
Well, the Clint Capella thing in Boston is kind of interesting, especially now this news that just broke in the last hour that Al Horford is not going to re-sign with them. They're kind of in the market for a center now, so that's something interesting to keep an eye on. I mean, I think best case scenario for them is probably that, well, the real best case scenario is they find someone to trade for Chris Paul. I don't know if that's going to happen, but the realistic best case scenario is that somehow he and James Harden figure out a way to put aside their differences for a season, and then hope that they can get through a season and just based on talent alone. And then next summer, maybe when he has a little bit less time left on the contract, maybe they'll have an easier time moving him. I don't know. The whole situation just seems pretty dysfunctional right now.
The Pelicans, do you think they're done wheeling and dealing?
Do I think they did a good job with the trade? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Do you think do you think they have any more trades up their sleeves? Do you think there's some more trades coming up with the Pelicans?
Well, I know they want to move the number 4 pick because I think basically every sense that we've gotten from David Griffin is because they're not really looking to move Drew Holiday. They're kind of I think they're more interested in getting players who can play right away than they are in just getting more draft picks, going full rebuild around Zion Williamson. I think they want to be competitive right away. So I know that they've talked to a bunch of different teams about moving that number 4 pick, maybe for an established player, somebody who can play right away. I think they're very open to moving down in the draft, if not out of it entirely at that number 4 spot. So I think that's definitely something they're going to be looking to do, but I don't know what the market's going to be, but I think there are teams that are interested in that pick.
One team, talking about here in Chicago, a lot of rumors going around that maybe Lonzo Ball was going to end up from the Lakers, and now he's down in L.A., and the Bulls might want to move up. So if you're the Bulls, do you just want to stay away? You want to stay at 7? Or do you think more teams are really going to really think about moving up in this draft, but it's only like really 2 heavy top players?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are teams that are going to want to move up, and Darius Garland is the guy, the point guard out of Vanderbilt. I think he's the guy that if a team is going to move up, that's probably going to be who they want to get. I don't know if I would do it if I was Chicago, because I feel like, I mean, unless you're just so convinced that Darius Garland is a future star, you're probably going to have to give up a pick. A protected first-round pick in the next couple of drafts, and if you're the Bulls, you still don't have enough established talent on your roster. You can really be going out here to give up, protected draft, future draft picks. Because you're going to need those picks to get more young talent along the way, because you guys still don't have enough of a established foundation of a roster outside of like Zach LaVine and Lowry Markkanen and Wendell Carter and Otto Porter. You basically have 4 guys at this point, plus whoever they drafted number 7 this time. So I don't think the Bulls are really in a position where they can afford to be giving stuff up to move up in the draft for, honestly, what's probably kind of a lateral move, because it seems like outside of Zion Williams and John Morant, there isn't really a group of prospects that's one, a huge jump above the others.
You're John Paxton. Sean, what's your game plan going into the draft and free agency for the summer for the Bulls?
Well, I mean, the guy that kind of has been mentioned a lot for them is Kobe White, the point guard out of North Carolina. But honestly, if I were the Bulls, they can't really be looking at this as saying, "Hey, we need a point guard, so we're going to try to get a point guard in the draft." They need to just take the best player available, whether Jared Culver somehow slips to them at 7, or if they decide that DeAndre Hunter is that guy. They have 4 guys basically at this point that you feel good about being long-term pieces for them going forward. And that's Zach LaVine, obviously, Wendell Carter, Lowry Markkanen, and Otto Porter. Outside of that, they're really not in a position where they can say, well, we're set at this position, so we have to not take somebody at this position. They have to take the best player available, whoever that may be.
Dan Davis on the line right now. We have Sean Highkin from Bleacher Report. Thank you, Sean. Sean, real quick, sticking with the Bulls. Garland, and now with as many teams that seem to be going after him, it seems like a lot of people would think he has a lot of upside. And I know most GMs have probably seen him in high school, since a lot of people didn't see him at Vanderbilt with the meniscus issue. If you had to choose between the two, how big is there a schism between Garland and also and Kobe White? I understand Garland's a shooter and Kobe White is more of a speed guy, but if you had to choose between the two in the long haul, which one is probably going to end up being an all-star and which one may not be all-star?
Well, Garland is just a huge roll of the dice, because there's just been so little data on him. He only played 5 games at Vanderbilt, and I think apparently he's been very impressive in these workouts that he's been going through with teams. From what I've heard and from people I've talked to, apparently he's been very impressive in these workouts. But you're just kind of taking a gamble on a guy who only played 5 games at the college level, but he's going to be ready right away to be playing against NBA talent. And so I think Kobe White is probably more of a safe bet in terms of either one of those guys. But I don't think either one of those guys is going to be like a franchise-changing, all-star type of point guard. I think you kind of hope to get a quality starter out of one of them eventually.
Which team in free agency this upcoming offseason is going to make the biggest financial mistake and go out and get a player or two that it sounds like a new toy, but when it comes to necessarily contending, the player's not going to be enough to really get that team over the hump?
I think you kind of have to look at the Knicks at this point, right? Because they basically, their entire plan over the last couple of years was to clear cap space and make a run at Kevin Durant. Now, even if they sign Kevin Durant, which they still might do, he's not going to play at all next year because he's coming off of a torn Achilles. And so they might just end it. And now, Kyrie Irving was the other guy that they were going to be going after. Now it seems like all the indications are that he's probably going to end up going to Brooklyn. And so if you're the Knicks, you're sitting on all this cap space. Are you going to go and talk yourself into like a Tobias Harris or a Chris Middleton, or just kind of one of these second-tier guys who maybe isn't worth a max deal but is going to be getting max money because they just, their teams have more money than they know what to do with, and there aren't enough real true max stars on the market. I think New York is a team you probably have to look at and say they probably are going to do, unless Kevin Durant actually goes there and they're willing to just eat his first year of his contract because he's not going to play this year, let him rehab, and then keep their powder dry and try to make a splash in free agency next summer. Other than that, the Knicks are a team that I would look at and say that, they're probably going to do something they'll regret.
With the Knicks, there was rumors today that perhaps they'll take Garland or they'll move to 3rd pick, and they're trying to get teams to kind of move up. Do you see them taking RJ Barrett? Do you see them keeping the pick, or do you see them perhaps going after another player?
Well, I mean, there's really not a whole lot that outside of the top 2 in the draft. We did Zion Williamson at 1 and John Morant at 2. But I would expect New York to probably still end up taking RJ Barrett, because he's a guy that I think teams feel like he's going to be a good scorer at the NBA level, and he's a guy that's going to fill it up and get fans excited. But honestly, after 1 and 2, like this draft could go in so many different directions. There are so many moving parts in terms of teams trying to move up. I know Atlanta is really trying hard to move up into the top 4, and then there are teams like New Orleans that are trying to move out of the draft or move back. Like it's really too early at this point to say anything with any certainty outside of Zion Williamson is going to go number 1. That's the only thing we know for a fact.
Sean, what's the best realistic free agent target for the Lakers?
Honestly, you know what? Al Horford it just kind of broke that he's not going to be staying with the Celtics. He opted out. Originally, they were going to be talking about maybe doing a longer term deal, but now it seems like he and Boston aren't going to be able to come to where they need to come to financially. You know, he's going to have Al Horford is a guy that's going to have shooters. I think you put him next to Anthony Davis, that's going to be a real nice fit. So that guy I would maybe look at. I'm not sure. I'm not sure you're going to be able to create another max slot. I'm not sure I would find one guy because we kind of saw with the Warriors, they have these superstars. They have this really top-heavy roster, but then once a couple of those guys go down, they really just don't have any other depth. And so I kind of feel like the Lakers, they have LeBron, they have Anthony Davis in the fold now. I kind of feel like if they have all this cap space, they should be trying to break it up among a bunch of smaller guys or, a bunch of role players and get, fill out a roster and get some more depth rather than just going after one big star to make a big splash like that. I don't know. But I think Al Horford could be a nice fit if he wants to go there.
Yeah, some kind of similar to what Miami and Cleveland did with LeBron, trying to fill the guys out with, guys that are looking for championships. You brought up the Warriors. KD's down, Klay's down. What direction do you think they should go with this upcoming season?
Well, I mean, they don't really have any options because even if Kevin Durant leaves, I think they're willing to pay both of those guys their max deals in order to keep them around, even if neither of them is probably going to play next year. Durant is definitely not going to play next year because an Achilles is a full year recovery injury. Klay Thompson, to me, there's probably a chance that he's going to be back in time for the playoffs, but who knows what he's going to look like. I think they would re-sign both of them if both of them wanted to be back. But even if that happens, even if Durant leaves, they aren't going to. It's not like they're going to suddenly have all this cap space, and they're just kind of stuck with the teams they have now, and then hope that they can get some better role players around the edges just to fill out the roster and maybe have more depth. So it's going to be a really interesting season coming up for Golden State because you basically have Steph Curry. You basically, even if they re-sign, you're not going to get anything out of Draymond or out of Kevin Durant or Klay Thompson next year because of the injury. So they basically have Steph Curry, Draymond Green. Andre Iguodala is going to be back, but he is another year older, and who knows what they're going to get out of him. Sean Livingston, it seems like, might retire at this point, but I just don't really know what they really have to do. They're going to have a pretty expensive roster that's not going to be contending without those two guys next year.
Dan Davis on the line, Sean Highkin from Bleacher Report. Follow him at Highkin. Sean, real quick before we get you out of here, I got a couple questions. One with Milwaukee. You're looking at Ilyasova and Tony Snell are rumored to be traded with a pick to go along with them to free up a little bit of money. And when I think of Brogdon and Middleton, and I like the pieces, but I would prefer them to be knocked down a bit and really Middleton not be the second guy, but the third guy. When you look at the future of Milwaukee contending for a title, the fact that the players that they're signing right now aren't bona fide all-stars. I know Chris Middleton made the all-star team this year, but as far as just perennial all-stars, will this be a hindrance in the future? The fact that I feel like most of them are just getting off from Giannis, not disrespecting their game, but it still doesn't seem like guys that can go get it on their own consistently.
Well, I just don't know what else they have to do. It's not like they're not getting another superstar to go there. Like it's just like I think they basically have no choice but to say, you know what, we had the best record in the regular season this year. We're going to just run this back. I think you kind of have to pay those two guys. George Hill, I would imagine they're probably going to let walk. If they can get off of the Tony Snell and Ilyasova money, like you said, that could maybe open some space for them to do some things. That's another team that maybe could target Al Horford, who has played for Mike Budenholzer before in Atlanta. He could also be a nice fit there, especially if they can't re-sign Brook Lopez, who might have priced himself out of coming back there. But I think Milwaukee is kind of just in a spot where, yes, you would like to not be paying Malcolm Brogdon and Chris Middleton as much money as you're going to have to pay them, but it's not like they have a whole lot of other options.
And Sean, what's going to happen where you're at in Portland? Like, we're looking at what that team did, and they took another step. The West is wide open now, but when it's wide open, I feel like they're quasi-false contenders. Do you think that with the West being open that the Portland Trailblazers can get past, i.e. the Lakers, even though I know we don't know what the Lakers are going to really look like together, Houston, if they're healthy this year, Denver, like do you look at them as being a legit team to get in contention or just on the periphery?
Well, I mean, they just made the Western Conference Finals, so I think they definitely feel like if they run the same team back, they should be at least in that mix. The thing is, I think there's so many, just because, you look at Oklahoma City's probably still going to be in there. Denver's still going to be in there. Utah's still going to be in there. The West is pretty wide open right now. And especially if Yusuf Nurkic is able to come back from his leg injury at some point during the season, which I think they expect to happen at some point, if they can get him healthy in the playoffs, I think they feel like they might actually be able to do it, especially with the Warriors being compromised the way they are. We don't know what's going on with the Lakers. But I mean, if they're going to be a team that's in the mix, I think they've shown now that they can hang with anyone. It's just a matter of, catching the right breaks again and if they can stay healthy.
And what's up with all the Soulja Boy love on your timeline?
Oh, that picture's been up there for a while.
The one with the season being over seemed like you posted a couple days ago. I know you got the one with him and A-Rab for your banner, but then it's the one where it's like, hey, the season's wrapping up.
That's what I'm saying. That one's been up there for a while because that was from remember when he had the whole thing with LeBron with Deshaun Stevenson in the playoffs when it was like the Cavs and the Wizards in 2008. That's one of the more iconic moments in NBA history, I think, and they need to make a 30 for 30 out of it.
All right, Sean. Hey, man, thanks so much for hopping on with us. Love talking to you down the line.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just, I'm around. I'm on Twitter at Highkin. I'm going to be, doing some stuff at Bleacher Report. I'm going to be out in Las Vegas for Summer League. But other than that, I'm just, just follow me on Twitter. And if I have something up, I'll tweet it out.
There you go. All right, Sean, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right. That was Sean Highkin of Bleacher Report. Make sure you follow Sean, like you said, at Highkin on Twitter. That's HIGHKIN. All right, Bleacher Report. All right, it's time to have some fun. It's time to go up for grabs with one Mr. Ryan Bukoveski. Come on back. D and Davis Show.
Yo, what up? It's your man, Jay Illa, official Chicago Bears DJ, and you are listening to the D and Davis Show. Turn it up.
D and Davis Show. Hey, you know what time it is. It's time to go up for grabs for one Mr. Ryan Bukoveski. Ryan, what you got for us?
Thank you, D. And yeah, let's get started with some NBA talk. And we are all excited for the start of the draft coming up and the big free agency period. So after the Anthony Davis trade to the Lakers, what do you think will be the next big domino to fall in the NBA landscape?
I guess it would have to be a signing. I don't see any other big-time trades coming. I think that was the biggest, which kind of really shook up the entire league going even into the draft because the number 4 overall pick was moved. I guess it would have to be a signing. So that means it would have to be a signing of someone going somewhere you didn't expect. I guess it's paid that Kyrie's going to Brooklyn. But does the Lakers have enough money to sign Kyrie?
Currently, the Lakers have a problem. They need the Pelicans to agree to a certain day to trade, which I believe is July 30th.
If they go to July 30th, then they could basically have $30 million.
$30 million on the cap, right?
But that's also if doesn't Anthony Davis have to turn down his trade kicker in that scenario?
No, he gets all his trade money, I believe. I think the issue becomes on the draft pick. I think that they
because the draft pick won't get to be in Summer League for the team. If Pelicans trade that pick, that pick can't play in Summer League for that team because they will be waiting all the way to August, basically. So that's the problem is the Pelicans can't do that for the Lakers depending on who they trade that team to.
But essentially, the big thing out of this right now is the Lakers may have jumped the gun on trading for Anthony Davis.
Right.
Now they don't have the ability at this current point in time to offer another max contract to somebody.
Right. So the only thing I can see is going to have to be a signing. I mean, I'm pulling for Kawhi to stay in Toronto. I think he should. I think the powers is. I mean, I think you want to have that kind of like one dominant team in the East, and I think they would be that with him there. I would like to see him stay in Toronto. But I guess it would be like Kawhi going to the Clippers. That'd be interesting to go out west and in a division going up against the Lakers with. That'd be a good storyline. The two LA teams would be that prominent because right now the Lakers are 3-1 odds to win an NBA championship. So I think Kawhi can move it. But yeah, I think it had to be a signing. It had to be something. It had to be a signing for someone not expected. So maybe like Kyrie to the Lakers, which y'all just told me that's probably not going to happen. So maybe a big time signing.
Him going to Rock Nation kind of tells you that he probably won't be a Laker.
Yeah, he going to Brooklyn. More
also,
likely.
the narrative wise, Kyrie seems like he cares about his narrative. And even though he's in New York, Brooklyn isn't the Knicks. He kind of seems like he doesn't want the media coverage necessarily that you get in those type of markets where the media may not be as friendly. And I know New York is one of them, but again, I'm talking about the Nets versus the Knicks.
I mean, Boston ain't that easy either.
I think Boston is worse than the Nets coverage, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
It's like Boston's coverage is like real New York coverage, Philadelphia coverage, Boston coverage.
Boston coverage, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I would say this. It would have to be Kawhi, but I think again it goes to Alderman Anthony Beal. I know it's Bradley Beal, but Alderman Bradley
His
Beal.
alternate persona.
I think it depends on, and I'm not saying that that's going to be the end all be all, but I think that's what it's going to be. Who takes that leap? Because again, he's the free agent. Well, not the free agent, but the trade chip. And we know, looking at where Washington is, they clearly want to get up out of these contracts because they're stuck with John Wall, and it makes sense to tear it down. More sense to tear it down than to worry about how a speed merchant that's now around 30 is going to come back from a torn Achilles, and that it wasn't working with him there. So, I mean, it makes more sense to ride they basically in the same situation they were with Agent Zero with Gilbert Arenas when he got hurt, and he still had all that money under his contract. Like, and they've been there before. So it makes sense to now get into the lottery. John Wall's gonna be gone next year. You get Bradley. You get a pick this year. You got your pick. Then you get next year. You suck again. You get another pick because you are hamstrung by that John Wall contract.
Yeah, but that's all predicated on someone moving whatever they need to move for Bradley Beal. Who's that team?
There's gonna be a lot of thirsty.
So
teams.
Obviously it has to be a team that's in the championship window.
Initially, the Lakers were, if they couldn't get Anthony Davis, he was a guy people looked at. They're gonna be a lot of. He's 25 years old. There are going to be a lot of teams. And think about it.
Give me a team.
He's capped. I would say that we've heard that the New Orleans may be a team. Mm-hmm. Again, now, if the Lakers decide to go 3 stars, I think perhaps they can be them. Because remember, he's on that old Jimmy Butler-ish type deal where he's probably making like young 20s right now on a maxed out deal. It's not as like he's back at 30 right now or whatever. So I think it fits under the cap. You look at some teams like perhaps if the Knicks want to make a move, if the Nets, like every team that thought all these teams that were getting ready to make these moves, they're going to sit there with crow in their hand and go back to their fans and be like, hey, we couldn't get this, but we gave you this.
But every team you brought up there, they're not championship teams. So it's kind of like,
but why
if I was a fan,
go to a championship
but
team?
no, this is my thing. If I'm a fan of the Knicks and I had to give up future assets for Bradley Beal, hell no.
But see, it's not going to be.
I don't want that.
It's not going to be what they're not dealing from a situation of leverage.
They're not at all.
So this isn't like they're not going to get. Again, of course, he's not that type of talented player. They're not getting an AD haul, and I'm not even saying it like AD. I mean, they're not getting like real picks. They're going to get this pick here and maybe a conditional pick. They're not leaving that situation with like multiple picks because people have them over a barrel. So it's not like that. The only thing that they have for them as leverage is that there are multiple teams who saved all this money up now. Yeah. That's the only leverage they have. So they can sit there and use the fact that, hey, I know you want them and you're saying this, but this team wants them and this team wants them. So what are you going to do? That's the only leverage they have. They don't have the leverage they would have had if they had a successful season and it was looked at that they don't need to get rid of this type of quality player. People know there's an urgency for them to tear that thing down.
If anything, I would like to see Bill go to New Orleans because they do have that nice little young core. It depends, like you said, can New Orleans can basically say like, hey, you taking this is what you're gonna get.
Holiday with that core more than him.
Yeah,
because I don't think he's that type of leader so far, and it may not be fair to him because this year it seems like that team was gelling with Wall.
Do you want like good size with Lonzo and Beal though in the backcourt?
See, but Bill,
That'd be nice.
Bill isn't the defender.
No, he's not. He's not that.
You have in Holiday, but I think
not that.
Holiday being in New Orleans as long as he has and going through the trials and tribulations gives you someone that's already connected down there, and also a type of I like the type of vet he is. He could have complained, and again he can switch and play. He's a combo guard, but he could have complained when Rondo usurped him. For me, for that team, I would keep Holiday because I think Holiday would fit. He's there to fit. Where I'm not dissing Bill,
right?
I know that I think you got a great defensive backcourt with Holiday, and also let's not forget the fact that he can switch off depending on who's playing.
Right?
All right, and that's why I would perhaps keep him. And I think he can get in the lane better than Bill, but clearly Bill's a better shooter.
Yeah, we'll see.
The three things I kind of look at are the Clippers, the New York teams, and Kyrie, because I think that's where maybe the next big domino comes, because if the Clippers don't get anybody, then that kind of changes this entire NBA landscape, because right now they're kind of the wild card team. It seems like two players are going to go because Kawhi Leonard they have the advantage on. I look at Kyrie, he's not really a number one to me. And if he goes to the Nets by himself, what does that really do for you? So I would think he's going to go somewhere with someone, and that only leaves LA or somewhere in New York. And unless KD is going with the Knicks, and if Kawhi stays with Toronto, I don't know what Kyrie does.
You were totally wrong. I'm going to tell you why. This is the NBA, and nothing happens in happenstance. The Nets did not clear out what they did without really knowing. And let's even think about it. During this year, we heard Kyrie he could go to any New York team, but it was him and KD going to New York. The last month, if not longer, you've heard the Nets lingo. He wants to be a Net. Like he's always wanted to go back to New York. Remember when he got out of Cleveland, he wanted to go back to New York?
And I will go to the Nets before I go to the Knicks.
And Kyrie doesn't need a title. He's not that type of player.
He already got one.
Yeah, but a lot of players want more.
Yeah. But he doesn't seem like that kind of cat. Like, I'm thirsty
when I say you're wrong. You're only wrong because you're looking at it from how Ryan, a guy that's thinking logically, would do it. That's not Kyrie. Kyrie doesn't think like we think. So with him, I'm going to the Nets and I'm going to make this right. I'm gonna do this here, and I'm in a big market. It's cool with him. I'm like you. I would be more in tune to be like, let me see if I can link up with somebody. Let's see what we could do. But it seemed like that was KD, and KD's gone. So I think Kyrie's a Net, to be honest. I don't think he's going to go to the Clippers with Kawhi. And to be honest with you, any superstar that's banking on winning with Kyrie, you better watch the tape. For real, because you're not LeBron James, and he had issues with LeBron James. You're not, and he's older now, and actually he's a better player than he was then. Mm-hmm. So what makes you think he's going to defer to you when he was on a loaded Boston team and was like, all of y'all? So I would like listen, Kyrie's better than this player, but I'd be like, you know what, dude, give me Kemba. Let's go.
And that would be huge if Kyrie does go to the Nets by himself, because then does Kawhi just want to run to LA with Kemba? I mean,
it'd be a good fit.
But is that going to be enough to really challenge in the West?
I'll tell you what. I was just sitting here thinking.
I think so.
I'll tell you what I would do if I was the Clippers. Because sitting here while you was doing all that. Clippers, we forget, is another team with a lot of assets. All right, they got draft picks and they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Right? I'm going to Washington.
Try to get Bill?
I'm going to put Bill and I'm going to put Kawhi together.
It's possible.
Now, that's a tandem because one, Bill can use the ball, but Bill can shoot. Both of those guys can basically shoot, right? So, and then you still have the infrastructure of the players that they've already built with the Clippers. That team now, not to say that they're sure they're over the Lakers, but their roster's already way better than the Lakers roster.
I think
out of the two stars, I'm saying the structure is more sound.
Honestly, I mean, looking at it right now, you got AD, you have LeBron, and I understand the odds, but I still depends on what's happening. But I don't like them to win the championship. But that's another story, another discussion.
Gotta love NBA free agency. Can't wait to see how the rest of it plays out, and especially with some of these big names. Let's switch over now to some baseball because it is Chicago baseball rivalry week with the 2-game set at Wrigley between the Cubs and the Sox.
Go Sox!
So let me ask you, what's significant to you about this series?
Nothing. It's good to see.
Nothing?
Yeah.
Really?
I was watching Sports Talk Live, maybe an episode from yesterday, and it was a gentleman over there talking about this is better for the Sox than the Cubs. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, let's stop. The Cubs are in contention right now. They're at least a top 3 team. We know they're not the Dodgers, but a top 3 team in the National League. The Sox are coming up. This is a good barometer for the White Sox. So, but in the long, in everything, nothing. It's just cool that this is our city and these two teams are playing. It's cool that the Sox are battling right now against one of the best teams in baseball over the last 5 years. But no, it means nothing. It's a baseball game.
I beg to differ with that. I think it means something because for the psyche of the Chicago White Sox, going into this season, I don't think a lot of people thought that they will be as good as they are. Now, currently the White Sox are sitting, and let me just bring it. They're 34-36. Mediocre team, right? But they're like 10 to 12 games ahead of schedule than they were last year. So you can see the development is going there. You go into Wrigley. You go into one of the best teams in MLB right now. The Cubs at 39-32. They're in a pretty tough division in NL Central, but they're going to beat at the end. They're only a half a game back of Milwaukee, right? But if you can go in there with your position players blossoming, you can go in there with Lucas Giolito pitching his ass off right now, and let's just say they even get a split. I think I said it before. If the White Sox can finish this season at 500, that's a remarkable season for what they're trying to go to.
But yeah, what does that have to do with this game, though?
So that's what I'm saying. I think it's the psyche of going there and being able to play.
They beat the Yankees. They did that to the Yankees.
But that's my whole point with this season. I think being able to go in and play against these top teams. Not saying even if you win a series, that's jubilation, right? But you go in there and you can at least start splitting these 4-game series, maybe win a 3-game series, play very well, play very tight with a team that's been to 4 NLC championship series. That means something. It's not so much of like, oh man, we lost a game. They are really improved. And if you can go into Wrigley and possibly win that series, that's going to mean a lot to you in the psyche.
How long is that series?
It's a 2-game series right now.
That's what I know. It's 2. I think
it's all about the psyche.
I think the sample size is too small, and I don't think the White Sox would try to make that much out of it because, again, if they were in their division, if they played them 20 times during the year and you run the series, I could feel it. And I'm not really dissing what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But I think with this being a team that they see so very little, it's cool. But to me, it's still about the Sox development. Of course, with development, it helps that you're beating good teams. I agree with that part. But in general, this game here, it means nothing.
I think they was looking at, I forgot who they was talking to. I think it was Lucas. He was like, hey, we're looking to go in there and like really beat them. I think this has been on a schedule because of how they've been performing. They still look at, let's be honest, the Cubs are the big brother baseball team in this city. Chris Bryant was like, I know we was playing them. He could be just poking them a little bit. But I think the Sox has been looking to this series because how well they have been playing. It's only a 2-game series. Ken is 100% right about that. What can you take so much of interleague play, especially nowadays because you play so much of it, doesn't really mean as much anymore. But I think the psyche of it, if they can go in there and beat them, I think it means a little something.
Yeah, I'm kind of in between you two. I think situationally, this series has a little bit of significance just because the Cubs had a rough road trip where they really struggled, and they had
2-5.
They've only played well at home. So if they come here and were to get swept by the White Sox, that'd be a big loss for them. 2 games, especially when you're talking about potentially being game for game with Milwaukee all year long, like it was last year. For the White Sox, I'm kind of leaking off you, D, with what you said. Playing Houston, playing the Yankees, playing the Red Sox, playing the Cubs, and playing well against them. I remember back in 2015 with the Cubs, the turning point for them was they started to play St. Louis better. They started to play with some of the top dogs in the National League, and they looked like a team that belonged. And that confidence, I think, propelled them in 2016 because they were just so young and really didn't know about the pressure that they were going to face. And the White Sox are trying to build a very similar craft to that. So I think that barometer, like you pointed out, Ken, is important for them and their psyche moving forward.
I don't think a 2-game sweep is as important as a 4-game sweep.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
No, yeah, I agree with that.
If it was
I agree with
this
that.
was a 4-game sweep,
And it's Italy play.
I would be with you. But being I think with a 2-game sweep, you can just be like, Like if you start, especially if you turn it around after this, it's more like a 4-game sweep. You're like, damn. Especially what you're talking about with how they were on the road just now. But again, to me, for the big part, it's just a small series.
And I would agree with that. And they still could get the sweep, the 4-game sweep. Just can't do it until they play the next 2 at the Cell.
Which is why they only play 4 games.
I don't know what I'm saying.
It seems like
ridiculous.
I know the Mets and the Yankees play more games.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Sox and the Cubs get 2.
They gotta.
It's
Subway
not allowed
Series.
yeah.
It's unbelievable how much they cut down on this series because it's been 4 games for like the last few years.
It used to be 6.
Yeah. That's baseball for you. Got to change rivalries because that's what brings viewers. Let's move it over now to the gridiron for my last question. On NFL Live on Monday, both Damian Woody and ex-Bears head coach John Fox declared the Bears have had the worst offseason this year. Is there any merit to the Bears having one of the worst off seasons, or is John Fox just a jaded ex-coach?
Hell no, that's nonsense.
That's foolishness.
I mean, listen, the worst part of this offseason was losing Vic Fangio, but dog, we kind of expected to lose in the last 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. All right, so that was, listen, if you're a really good team or your team is playing extremely well on one side of the ball, and especially if it's not your head coach's side of the ball, he's going to end up going. Or even if it's the head coach's side, but you know it's that coordinator that's doing it. So Vic Fangio, the only thing that's been holding him back is his age. And it took John Elway to be like, you know what, I don't really care. Look how old I am, right? But no, I like the Ha Clinton Dix Amos swap, basically. All right. If Buster Screen is healthy,
that's his thing. He's more durable than Bryce.
Yeah, but look, David Montgomery just signed. Like Cordell Patterson. Like, are you? Listen, I will bash the Bears. They had the worst offseason in football. Do you know how many teams that we can sit here and talk? Listen, I know they got Antonio Brown. I still don't know what the Raiders are doing. All right, like
signing racists.
What you talking about?
Incognito.
Yeah, they signed Incognito.
Let me ask you a question, Ken, really quick to that. To kind of play devil's advocate a little bit to John Fox and Damian Woody, do you think maybe they meant the Bears had the worst out of the contending teams versus just some general? And would that even be true?
No. I think the Bears did with what you expected. Only problem with the Bears really have is that they haven't fixed the kicker issue. But Fangio was going to leave. And look, I'm not the Chuck Pagano guy, but still, you got a more than adequate replacement in Chuck Pagano. The free agents they brought in, I think, filled the holes that they needed. I mean, look, there's very, very few things outside of kicker, and you telling me we lost a coach that I can be mad. And looking at a team that if the Bears had cash, I still wouldn't say they had the worst offseason, but we're talking about a team that's getting to the point where they have to play their quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just signed a player to the highest defensive contract in the league. So it's not like they're flush with cash or where they could have done something. We're talking about a team that's dealing with the budget. What they've done, no. They've sat there and gave their smart-ass coach more weapons for his offense, and they sat there and solidified this defense and brought in a capable defensive coordinator who has head coaching experience, and also his best part in his coaching was defensive backs in this pass happy league that we're in right now.
And just to kind of put an extra emphasis on your point with Clinton Dix and Buster Screen, between those two and versus Bryce Callahan and Adrian Amos, what they signed, they've saved over $15 million in getting those two players versus Callahan and Amos.
Listen, bump John Fox. He didn't want to talk to us when we was out there spring training, so he'd never be on my Christmas list.
Spring training though.
Whatever, training camp, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. He didn't want to talk to us. Anyway, nah, man, that's foolishness. Anybody that can go back out there and say that the Bears had one of the worst off seasons. The worst off season.
Crazy.
What are you talking about?
2 people.
What are you talking about? Are they like just looking for them to just crush all the other teams in the division based on what they do? Listen, Green Bay might be a little bit better. Detroit, let's see what they do. Minnesota.
Giants? The Bengals?
Reaching for Daniel Jones?
Are they
Tampa Bay?
Are they looking to just see what they do inside the division and based off of that, or are they looking off the potential of what they should be? It doesn't. It doesn't even matter. That's a stupid comment.
Did Texas fired their general manager after 1 year and still don't have Jadeveon Clowney under a contract? Dude, I could go through about 4.
Yeah.
The Cardinals may have a joystick quarterback who may not even work and traded a guy who may be decent. Adam Gase ran off his general manager and said he didn't even like the guy they spent money on for the running back. Are you out of the number of teams that we could go down before you can say the Bears? What the hell has Minnesota done?
What were they expecting them to do? That's my question.
Look at Green Bay. Like, they're supposed to be a team that's supposedly going to turn around this year. They're going in with a rookie head coach.
Yeah.
They've rebuilt their pass rush with 2 free agents that haven't done it yet. They're hoping that they will become those pass rushers. And they've got a brand new offensive system potentially.
And the quarterback is already like, let me audible more.
Yeah. And he's another year older, and he was out, for injury.
And that's in your division.
What the hell is Detroit doing?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Like, are you like that's listen, Damian Woody does not follow what happens with the Bears. So we can move Damian off there. John Fox is a vindictive hoe.
Is this just for clickbait? I mean, I know he said it on TV, but
John Fox was like, you ain't spend that money when I was there.
Because, like you said, Minnesota,
hey.
their best move was re-signing Anthony Barr before he left for the Jets.
Right.
That's been their only move,
And
really.
then saying that they weren't going to sign Kyle Rudolph, then signing them. So they kept their players?
Did they say that they don't believe in Mitch? What?
No, John Fox's reasoning was the kicking position, which I guess you can kind of point at that.
It's a sign of concern. It's a place of concern.
And Damian Woody's really was only Vic Fangio, which I guess those are the 2 holes in the offseason. But like you said, Ken, Chuck Pagano, we don't know if he's going to do a potentially as good or better job. He's going to do a slightly different scheme, and that might fit the players a little bit better. And even if it drops off, how much is a drop-off going to be? And the kicker thing, yeah, I get it. We don't have a kicker. We don't have the veteran, but we talked about it multiple times. Robbie Gould was found off the streets. How do you know you haven't found the guy off the street? And there's still room with cuts coming up that they can get another guy.
How many teams can you say for sure that they just, bona fide right here for our kicker? I mean, kickers are like bullpen arms. You don't know what the hell they're going to do to you.
That's an issue with the kicker.
Yeah, that's valid.
But it's an issue that can still be taken care of in this offseason. But let's get to the Chuck Pagano, Vic Fangio situation. If your team is good on whatever side of the ball, you're going to lose that coordinator. The thing that benefits the Bears, they weren't just out there off of scheme. They're loaded with talent. So if we were sitting there in a situation where let's just take for instance Khalil Mack off, right? Let's take Keem Hicks off, right? Let's just take them off.
Eddie Jackson.
So let's just say that your key players is Leonard Floyd, Eddie Jackson, and the cornerbacks, right? You're playing off scheme is going to be the real reason that you're playing well if you're playing well. This is not to say the Vic Fangio scheme wasn't well, even though he didn't like to blitz, and there was times he needed to blitz, and Chuck Pagano blitzes more.
He will blitz.
But still looking at this team, they're loaded with talent. It's not about the scheme. It's about whoever is using these players properly. I don't think that's going to be an issue. And damn near, I hate to say it, outside of some chosen plays, depending on game situations, this defense can run by something. The pass rush is lunatic, really. If Leonard Floyd is better than he was last year, in what you hear Danny Trevathan talking about, they need to, I know he's gassing him up, but saying they need to double team him this past week, like that's just asinine.
Yeah, that's pretty stupid.
And Roquan Smith, we haven't talked about him yet. That guy is going to be a stud and a half, and he is just scratching the surface. So yeah, I'm with you. It's craziness.
My last thing. What if you're talking about Bilal Nichols, what he's going to do this year, but what if one of these players, like the cornerback that they got that just spent that 1 year played corner 1 year, but was a receiver,
Steven Denmark.
Thank you. Yeah. What if he's actually good? Right, like what if this year he is the 3rd and 4th in depth chart, but you like, oh man, somebody gets hurt and he's out there balling, it's like, ooh, Ryan Pace did it again, right? Like,
and look at a guy on the corner, Kevin Tolliver, the 2nd last year, undrafted, considered a guy that would have been drafted if he didn't have the off-field issues. He didn't have them last year, and he played pretty decently. They might, and Roy Robertson Harris, another undrafted guy. I mean, they have so many 2nd or 3rd tiers.
The only thing
I've been a Roy Robertson guy. I expected more last year.
Only thing I will say is that their schedule is a little bit tougher. I don't know if they're going to go and do as well as they did last year. They might lose a game or two.
12 wins. I was like, get 10 wins.
10? You might be fine in this division with 10.
Yeah, if you play well in the division, it's not so much what you do outside of it because they're going to have chances for victories. They've got some easy opponents,
What AFC
but they got to do it.
What AFC division they played?
AFC West.
Oh.
So, I mean, you got the Chiefs and the Chargers are going to be tough, but we don't know what the Broncos are. We don't know what the Raiders are.
Yeah.
That could be two
Broncos
games.
defense is going to be better.
And plus, two, the Raiders, they get them in London. Like that young team moving over to London, I don't know if that's going to be an advantage for them.
All right. Real quick, going back to the Mets and Yankees, they only played them 4 times. So maybe in the league play within the city, you only play 4 times.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
All right, coming back on the other side of this break, Darnell Mayberry from the Athletic Chicago is going to join us to break down what the Bulls are going to do in the draft and free agency. D and Davis Show.
Hey, this is Rich Campbell from the Chicago Tribune, and you're listening to the D and Davis Show.
D and Davis and Bulls senior writer for the Athletic Shot joining us right now, Darnell Mayberry. You can always follow him at Darnell Mayberry. Mayberry is joining us. Sorry, Darnell, you know I'm an idiot. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Doing good, man. Listen, I've really been enjoying your writing. Not to say I haven't enjoyed it in the past, but I've been enjoying you kind of bring us Bulls fan the reason. For instance, the article about the draft scenario as far as that Garpax really has done a really adequate, we're better than adequate, a good job when it comes to drafting depending on the position that they're in. My only thought or blowback to you is this. What about sometimes, and I guess you can say this happened with the Aldridge Tyrus Thomas incident. I'll call it an incident. What about sometimes making moves in the draft? And I know that PAX can be active, but sometimes shaking it up. You said you talked to a lot of GMs, and they were right to say that give the Bulls kudos for the amount of the quality of players they got at the position. But what about sometimes going out there and shaking up the apple cart and maybe trading a pick or a player to move up, or trading a pick to bring in a bigger player? Is there any issue with the Bulls not being daring enough?
No, I mean I think they've been active. If that's the criticism, I think people then criticize them for when they are active, what they do. And I'm not by any means trying to defend them. Don't get me wrong. But 2 years ago they made the Jimmy Butler deal, and they moved up in the draft doing that, and everybody killed them. So, I just think, like you said, it is 2 ways of looking at these things, and I think as fans of the game and fans of the Bulls specifically, I think, just probably lose perspective a lot of times. And because it has been so long since they, really competed for a championship, and rightfully so. I understand the frustration, but I do think that they've drafted well. And if you give them credit for anything, I think that's where you have to give them credit. Have they been perfect? Not by any means, but everybody misses occasionally, and they certainly had their misses, but I think by and large they've done a good job in the draft.
Listen, you had a great article yesterday, and you set the parameters using the Dallas Doncic and Trae Young Atlanta trade last year in the draft, which brought back an extra pick for Atlanta by moving down and letting Dallas move up, or selecting Doncic for Dallas. Let me ask you if the Bulls did that, and you were saying in the article as far as perhaps going up to get Garland, and I know you already mentioned it, but just for our listeners, is there really any worth in it, since looking at Garland or Kobe White, but it seems like it's Garland. I think we're all pretty sure right now, not to say it can't happen, that he probably won't be Trae Young, and especially not Doncic going in the future. Or would you make that move? Let me put it that way. Would you move up to get Garland and give up a pick next year, knowing the Bulls may be bad in the lottery, and also since the draft isn't as weighted, you can be 14th and maybe get into the top 3 or 4?
I mean, I think I wouldn't. If I was making a decision, that's a lot to give up for a guy who's played 5 college games and he really hadn't seen a large body of work from him. So that would be a lot to ask if I was making that decision. I couldn't give up a future first-round pick for a guy who's really a mystery man, unknown. So by all accounts, people say he can play. People who've seen him in high school, people who've seen him in summer basketball activities, they all say he can play. And maybe he is a Damian Lillard type. That's some comparisons kind of happen, man. Maybe he is, but I just wouldn't give up a future first and the number 7 this year. Trying to go get him.
What are you looking for as far as the development when it comes to Lauri Markkanen and Zach LaVine?
What am I looking for in his development?
What are you looking for going into the next season? What are you looking for from them guys?
I want to see him be more aggressive offensively. I want to see him be able to create his own shot more consistently. If he just does that and that alone, I think he's going to turn into a really, really good player in his third season. But there are too many times where he just kind of coasts out there and you don't really feel his presence or his ability. And I think he lets teams off the hook. And as he grows, I think that's going to be a critical component for him, just learning how to be aggressive and command the ball, command the double team, and make a play, for himself or for someone else.
And what about Zach? I mean, we know he can put the ball in the basket, but I mean, he has to develop his game a little bit more. But what do you expect to see from him next year?
Just more consistency. I thought he had a really good year last year. Quietly, he got off to the great start and kind of made a little name for himself with what he was doing, scoring the ball. But I think as the Bulls started losing, people lost sight of the season that Zach was having. So I thought he had a really good year. But just more overall consistency in all areas, offensively and obviously defensively is what everybody kills him on. But I saw him trying, and I'd like to see him continue to put forth that effort. If he does that, I think he's going to be really good too.
D and Davis show on the line was right now Darnell Mayberry of The Athletic. Make sure y'all follow Darnell on Twitter at Darnell Mayberry. One guy you talking about effort, man. He seemed to, at least everybody wanted him to show the effort last season, and he just kind of didn't, and he kind of fell to the wayside, and that's Chris Dunn. Man, what is his future with this team? Is it a possible throw in with a bag of balls or trade, or what's going on with this dude? Is he going to be a Bull for the foreseeable future, or what's happening with him?
Yeah, I think his days are numbered. The way I recently wrote an article kind of laying it out, the way that the Bulls have come out and just pointed a lot of the blame on Chris Dunn for what happened last year, or where they are. Maybe not what happened last year, but how they see the core that they have in place and where they're going for sure. And a lot of it is warranted. Chris didn't have a great season last year, but, to point so much of it at him, I thought that was unfair. And I pointed that out. And, I just think he, for whatever reason, struggled adapting in his third season coming in. He thought he was going to play under Fred Hoiberg. He came in and after couple of weeks, about a month and a half into the season, they fired Fred Hoiberg, moved to Jim Boylan. And it's interesting because Ryan Arcidiacono's numbers, and I know, we don't think about him as, a long-term player here, but his numbers suffered too. He was playing well and his numbers took a hit. He was still giving you like those hustle plays and things like that, but his numbers actually took a hit, just like Chris Dunn. So whatever Jim Boylan did with the system, maybe that had an impact on the point guards. And neither one of those guys, to their credit, wanted to throw their coach under the bus, but it was clear that it had a negative impact in some regard.
Darnell, sticking with Chris Dunn, last year the management seemed kind of upset that he wasn't an advocate consider enough. Has he been there this offseason?
From what I've been told, he has not been. And I don't blame him at this point. And that goes back to that piece I wrote, when you've got the vice president of the team coming out and just continuously throwing him under the bus, saying that they're good at 2 through 5, but then, how's your starting point guard supposed to feel about that? And then this is coming after last summer where, someone, I guess, leaked it to the Sun-Times that, they weren't happy with his work ethic, or, they came out and disputed that report. But, it was just all these different little rumblings about Chris. And, if I'm him, I would take exception to it. If my boss came out and said, we good with everybody over here, but, you pick it up, publicly like they've been doing to him for 2 years now. So I haven't heard that he's been in the building, and that does not surprise me.
Darnell, if your boss did that to you, man, we'd be mad at The Athletic, brother.
Just publicly, though, man, that's the problem. Like, if you say it once, okay, we got it. But then if you just keep it going, that's where I thought maybe they crossed the line a little bit.
Look, getting back to the draft, looking at this Bulls team and a type of point guard, if they end up going with position over best player available, if you had your druthers, would you go with Garland, a guy that's a great off the dribble shooter, or would you go with maybe a pace guy with White when we're talking about the rest of the players in that starting rotation in the team?
You know, it's really tough for me to say because I didn't get to see those guys. Like I said, Garland, I never saw. You know, all you can do is really study tape on him from what he did early and back, you know, in his prep days. But White, you know, my question about him, and I didn't get to see him a ton. But my biggest question is, can he create for others? You know, they got some scorers on this team. Not saying that they don't need others, but you know, with Zach, with Laurie, with Otto, you got guys who can score. Can this point guard come in here and get others involved and make plays and set up the team? So that's my biggest question on Kobe. Everybody knows he can score.
Dan Davis on the line right now, Darnell Mayberry. Follow him at Darnell Mayberry. Darnell, in free agency, if the Bulls are going to go out and perhaps get a big, but we know they've talked and maybe they're going to get a point guard, which point guard would you prefer? And which point guard do you think, depending on how large his signing in the long term, the Bulls would look at it, or Bulls fans, as a mistake?
Was the second part, which one would be a mistake?
Which one financially, like for instance, I'll give you an example. I kind of feel like, yeah, it'd be cool to have Malcolm Brogdon, but if we were like in year 3, especially if the other players maybe get good, we'd be like, man, that damn Brogdon contract. So is there a player out there out of the free agents, do you think, in the long term that will be kind of like, man, even though we know why they did it, we wish they hadn't done it, along with which point guard would you perhaps go after, or free agent would you go after this offseason?
Patrick Beverly would be at the top of my list because I think he's probably, of the guys who are out there, I think he's probably financially your best bet. And we all know what he does on the floor, what he brings, how hard he plays. So I think he fits really well. Maybe not long term, but you know, you're not hurting yourself and putting yourself behind an 8 ball down the line, signing, you know, someone to a long-term contract like you're talking about, and then it being a mistake. But it's funny, the example you pointed to, because I actually think Brogdon would be perfect for him if they could get him, and if Milwaukee would let him walk. I don't think Milwaukee would let him walk, but that guy does so many things well, and I think his future's bright because he brings it on both ends of the floor.
Darnell, what kind of season do you think the Bulls fans are expecting next year, or should expect next year?
I don't know what they should expect, but I think that whatever they do expect, I think that the Bulls will probably be better than expectations. Slightly.
So we thinking like maybe a 5-game jump, possibly 10-game jump in the win column?
So I'm a little bit
about
more
it like
optimistic.
that. We talking about maybe more development, or we talking about wins?
And I'm still a little bit more optimistic, probably than most, just because I don't think they were as bad last year as they showed in terms of wins and losses. You know, they had a lot of injuries. They had the coaching change. There's just a lot going on. Trades, that sort of thing. So I think, you know, if they didn't get hurt and all of that last year, I think maybe they're a 33 to 35 win team last year. So I'm using that as my background. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's how I see this team. I think they got a lot of talent. And I do think that they are kind of stacked from a starting lineup standpoint, 2 through 5. I can say that. It's just one thing for John Paxson to keep coming out and saying it. But they do need a point guard. We know that. So I mean, I think 40 wins wouldn't surprise me. You know, that might sound crazy, but I think a 17, what they win, 22 last year, an 18-game jump, that wouldn't surprise me.
You heard it right there.
Wow.
You heard it.
That would be a huge jump. All right, so buzz out the crystal ball, man. What do you think the Bulls are going to do with that number 7 pick Thursday night?
I think they stand pat. I think they show some restraint and avoid giving up future assets to try to move up. I think they probably see some players there would be there at 7 that they like. I don't know who that person is. I would like to see Jared Culver fall to him at 7. I think that would be a dream scenario for him. But I don't know if that's going to happen. But how would y'all feel if they went around with Cam Reddish?
Man,
I knew Cam was coming.
It would be a situation where I would hope, like when you look at Cam Reddish, if you want to be a fan of his, you can say going into a situation where in high school he was the man and becoming the third option, perhaps he wasn't built for that. Like everyone can't necessarily be built for that. I'm sure usage wise, he was used to getting the ball a lot more, but overall still, man, it would be like, man, it's another Bulls pick. And I mean, I would hope he would succeed, but just still it'll feel like, man, when it's a setup, that's how I would feel.
I appreciate that early reaction because this story is actually posted on The Athletic in the morning. So, on Wednesday morning, it's going to be posted. That's what I'm writing. I think they're going to probably take Cam Reddish. That's not, inside info or anything. That's just my take. I think that the young man is talented and, that he does have his warts. He's got his flaws, but, pound for pound, that guy, he can hold his own from a skill standpoint with anybody in this draft, probably outside of Zion. But I wouldn't be surprised, man. I mean, there's a lot that they don't like about him. Obviously, everybody has a lot that they don't like about him, but there is some stuff to like about him.
Look, let me ask you this, because I got some other stuff nationally I want to ask you. But look, real quick. So you're saying, I know you just said Culver you would take. I think you're saying you would take him over Reddish. But let me say this. If Hunter was there and not the Bulls, would you take Hunter over Reddish if you had to make that decision?
Yes, I would. Because I think one's just more NBA ready, and I don't think you worry as much about one being a bust, frankly. I think that's the biggest fear on Cam Reddish, right? Everybody thinks he's, he doesn't have the heart, he doesn't have the desire, kind of what you will. But I just think a lot of people are fearful that he's going to get to the league and just kind of kick back and not push himself to be as great as he can be.
You got your ear to the league. Are there any draft shakeups or free agent signings that we haven't heard about that in the coming week or two that people will see that you may already have an inkling is coming down the line?
No, I think, watch out for I'm not saying this is like going to happen, but, a team that I look at, obviously the Clippers, going after some big names, but I do think some people are going to sign there. I can't say who, I don't know who, but, I do think the Clippers are going to be a major player, and I think people are going to sign there.
Last Bulls question real quick. I was going to ask you this. You're around the team and looking at Boylan going into this year. Does it seem like the team is gelling and really behind him and they expect something better? But you kind of answered that when you said the Bulls will win 40 games. I take it that there must be some good chemistry going on in the Advocate Center right now.
I mean, they've got it's bigger than that to me. They've got the talent, man. Zach LaVine is a 25-point per game scorer in this league. Larry Markkinen is a 20-point per game scorer in this league. Otto Porter might be better than we all thought when they made that trade. And Wendell Carter Jr., I'm really, really high on. You got some people out there who think he's the best piece that they have, ahead of Markkinen, ahead of LaVine. So I'm just really high on the talent that they have in place. Whether they can put it together or not, that is what, that's where I get off the boat. But they got the pieces. They got some pieces, man. They got some horses.
Hey, Darnell, last one for me, going national a little bit, and you brought up the Clippers. What do you think Kawhi is going to do? Do you think he's going to stay in Toronto, or is he heading to LA with the Clippers?
I think he goes home. I think he goes to the Clippers, man. This Lakers stuff that they're talking about, I think after KD made his move, I'm not sure. That could have opened the floodgates. Who knows what these guys are going to do at this point? But I'd be surprised if he tried to join LeBron and Anthony Davis out there in LA. I think he's probably going to want to do his thing, and I see him joining the Clippers. If, they just had the parade on Monday, so maybe on that changes his head. But I think the guy just wants to go home. So that's my guess.
All right.
Appreciate it, brother.
All right, Darnell, hey, man, thanks for hopping on with us, man. Can't wait to talk to you down the line.
All right, guys.
All right. Be easy in the Walmart streets. All right. Darnell Mayberry of The Athletic. Make sure you follow Darnell on Twitter at Darnell Mayberry. So I had an inkling. I had a feeling that he was going to say Cam Reddish. I had a feeling that he was going to say it. And looking at the history of the Bulls.
It's Otto Porter, too.
Yeah, you listen.
But it took Otto Porter like 4 years
to finally get it, though.
Yeah. And guess what?
He's on the Bulls now.
Yeah, but the problem, and he's overpriced. A good player, but he's way overpriced. And basically, we're going to be getting first of all, we're going to overpay for Cam Reddish when he hits the market, and then we're going to end up moving him for some type of Jabari Parker type of player in the future.
Also, he's going to be a 3, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it just seems like they're just so. I guess they're not that log jam. They can go ahead and start Otto and just bring Cam off the bench, and that'll be fine.
Bowl.
No, I wouldn't do that now. I wouldn't do that now.
With the high fat percentage, body fat percentage,
I can
shockingly high for a 7'4" man.
I can definitely see them taking Cam.
20-some%, like 24%.
Fat.
His body fat. It's like, I mean,
more cushion for them old tall, brittle bones.
You are not your father.
No, he's not.
But
no, I can definitely see them drafting Cam. Is it out of anybody's realm of possibility that's going to happen?
No, because I don't think it's going to happen. You know why?
You think it's going to go before that?
No, hell to the no.
Okay.
What I think is going to happen is the question is going to be the Pelicans, because if the Pelicans don't move that pick. And I don't get, like, some of the stuff I see, it throws your equations of what a all-star player's value is when you see some of the deals. Because I've seen Bill be mentioned perhaps going to the Pelicans. And I'm thinking, like, so then if they bring in Bill, would they keep Holiday? How are they looking at that type of situation?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. So, but still, I'm looking at, again, Washington's desperate. So I could see them getting plucked in a deal where they're just looking at the value, even though, to be honest with you, man, you have to give me more than the 4th pick in this draft for Bill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I agree.
But again, they still have those Lakers picks in the future that Griffin is using to entice these teams. But this is what I'm trying to say. Depending on who trades up, if someone trades up to get from the Pelicans pick, there's a chance the Bulls could stay pat and get at least Kobe White. Like a lot out of.
You think he's going to fall past Phoenix?
Out of 7 mock drafts that I've seen, only 1.5 really, and really 1 didn't have the Bulls being able to get Kobe White, because the thing is,
I'm kind of shocked about it. Is it all because of?
It's because Garland doesn't get drafted as high as where people think he gets drafted, and Phoenix ends up taking him in the. Because the thing is, if the Pelicans hold on to that pick, they don't need a point guard.
They don't need a point guard.
There's point guard strapped.
Yeah,
right
they're
now.
Good. They're fine.
So if you're saying
the question is, do we even keep Lonzo?
I don't think they're moving Lonzo, because I think Allen Gentry wants the pace. He loves to run. That was that's one of his big things. He loves. So I think he looks at Alonzo and is like, I'm gonna get the pace that I want.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some out of
the rest of these guys to kind of cover up his
defense as well. Big long body.
I got these. He doesn't need to shoot with what we're doing.
Exactly.
As long as he can knock down an open J, we don't really need him to shoot. I got Holiday right now, depending on if he stays there. I got Zion. You know that Ingram needs shots. You know what I'm saying? So you got a ton of guys already there. You don't need it. But this is again. If depending on who makes that pick, or if the Pelicans stay pat, the Bulls can come out of here with one of those point guards. And if you get one of them at 7, you listen. I hate to say it, 777. They made out of maybe not losing as much as you should have. And some people will bring up chemistry and work ethic and stuff like that. But still, if they can get, and I'm not saying these players are going to be some great players. I mean, clearly right now it seems like Darius Garland is the one out of the 2 that you would prefer, because in this NBA he can shoot. And there's no question, it seems like, not to say that he's a facilitator, that he's a point guard. And there's still the question about Kobe White being a combo guard. And as you just heard from Darnell, is he a guy that can facilitate? You know, like, and I think that's a question really for both of them. But then again,
these are young players too.
But how many? It would be nice for the Bulls to have a point guard that's a facilitator. But really, how often will he get to necessarily do that with Zach LaVine in that back?
I think that's a good point. But I think it comes down to what Darnell was saying about he's thinking that they can jump up to 40 wins. And that kind of led into your point of them being behind.
They're going to be 10 wins better.
You think so?
At least. Yeah. I mean, because, last year I was higher on them, but they got hurt. I mean, dude, they talent-wise, and it's not, what'd you say?
No, go ahead.
Talent-wise, you can't get mad at the players the Bulls selected where they selected them.
Oh, no, they had no other choice.
Larry Markkinen.
And they got pretty lucky. It's not
they
lucky,
could have
but
been a team that's them and them that was dumb enough not to take him there.
Yeah,
all right?
Yeah.
Wendell Carter.
Who Darnell likes? Oh no, I'm saying who the Bulls like. The Bulls like him a lot.
And see, because there's a chance that I don't think he'll ever be able to handle the ball like the comp that he's been used. But the other facets of his game, and I'm talking about Al Horford, there's a chance he could be a closer player.
Possible. It's possible.
Which is why he said that perhaps he could be the best player out of them, because defense, rebounding, and the guy that can shoot.
Yeah.
Switch off on everybody.
Yeah.
He can switch off on everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So talent wise, if they get a guard to go back there, and they stay healthy, again, it's if they stay healthy.
It's also dependent on if Boylan can develop this young guy with these other young guys. Yeah, that's a big part. Can he develop them? Now, Darnell was saying, like, hey, we think maybe you'll go up.
Guards is a problem with him is his development with the point guards. But, that's Chris Dunn. Archie Diakio, I don't care for.
True.
Because his name is Archie Diakio.
It was kind of interesting. I didn't know his numbers fell as well. So, but
think about it during the season, you did see. You at the beginning of the year, it was like, damn, this shorty is really balling out. But I don't think we paid as much attention to it. Mm-hmm. But through the rest of the year, you didn't hear that as much of this Diacono talk and the amount of plays that he was getting.
It was fluctuation. It was so much fluctuation when it came to the point guard position. So neither one of them played that well. I don't know. I'm looking at NBA Draft.net, and this is from the 18th, which is today, right? Okay. So you have. And listen, this is probably not going to stay, but they have obviously John Moran going to the Memphis Grizzlies. Okay, we got that. They have Darius Garland going to the Pelicans. As we said before, Pelicans are pretty point guard heavy.
But they may just want to shoot him.
They might want to shoot him. And also, too, they might end up moving Lonzo. Who knows what they can get for Holiday?
Yeah, they gonna screw us and give us Lonzo.
Hey, maybe the Bulls.
We got Garland. Guess which one's better?
Okay,
you take this one.
Depending on what they want, maybe the Bulls can inquire about Holiday. I don't know. Then you do have Cleveland, which I don't think this is gonna happen, but they have Cleveland taking Cody White.
But see, I think the Cleveland fit would be I think it would be Garland, because you're talking about a shooter, and that's not a strong suit of Colin Sexton right now.
Mm-hmm. But Cody White gives you the size.
Yeah,
you having a point guard.
But they play the same. They play the game the same way.
Right,
is what I'm saying. Like you would have two driving to the hole, speed merchants driving to the hole guys. Sexton's probably a better defender right now. But when you look at, if you put Sexton and Garland, it would be, I guess you could say, be something similar. Not to say it'd be the same prototype of McCollum with Damian Lillard. Like you just have some scores back there. But when you look at Garland, it'll fit with Sexton, because Garland wouldn't necessarily need the ball to get into the lane. He'd be spacing the floor, allowing Sexton to get into the lane more.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be shocked if either one of them are still around at 7.
I wouldn't. But
I'd be kind of shocked by that, because you look at Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Phoenix need a point guard.
So who else needs a point guard?
Well, hell, we thought it was going to be New Orleans, but that changed.
But that's just because you're on that one board.
Yeah, no. I thought they would look for something, but that Anthony Davis trade kind of changed a lot.
Phoenix is a team that needs a point guard.
Yeah.
All right.
And we already know Memphis is taking job.
It helps with the Pelicans having that pick rather than the Lakers, because the Lakers probably would have went with Garland because they want to put shooters around LeBron.
Right.
All right. Right. So they probably would have went with Garland and put a shooter around LeBron.
That Davis trade changed a lot.
Yeah. So now the only team with the glaring need of point guard would be Phoenix. Mm-hmm. And then it'll be the type of guard.
And they're a pick right before the Bulls at number 6.
The type of guard they would desire. It seems like they're leaning to Garland. But when you already got a high usage player that they already have in Booker, do you need another guy that needs the ball in his hand to score? Do you want someone to speed up the pace so that everyone else can score a little bit faster and easier?
Are you sold on Kobe White?
I'm not sold on neither one of those point guards.
I'm not either.
There's only 2 players in this draft to be sold on, and even in being sold on them, there's levels to the soldability. I mean, you're talking about Zion. If Zion doesn't get hurt, he should be a star. Mm-hmm. With Ja,
probably a generational star.
Yeah, probably. We'll see. Because, I mean, again, if he's not hurt, he should be generational. But with Ja Morant, you're looking at the fact that he's slight, but then in this league, they don't hit you as hard as they did when we were kids, but still, he's slight. And how is he going to be able to use that speed in the lane? Will it translate as it did in college? But outside of those two, I mean, I think RJ is going to be good, but I think RJ's usage is going to be crazy. Where it's like, as far as efficiency, I don't know if you're going to be getting that from RJ. Like, he's like, RJ's scoring. But go ahead, Ryan. You had something to say?
I just had a question about the Knicks and how you bring them up. Are they the team that kind of matters the most for the Bulls and what they do at 7? Because the reports are that they might be going after Garland at 3 instead of RJ Barrett. And does that change?
That changed a lot. Yeah, I think so. I think the Knicks, their number 3 pick, does. Because really, we know who 1 and 2 is. So if they come up and they take Garland at number 3, it's like, okay.
But they're not.
I'm just saying, if that scenario happens, we don't know what the Knicks do. We don't know what the Knicks. I know RJ is trying to go out there and say that, hey, I want to be there.
They're doing it because what they're trying to do is see if they can. So if people are talking to the Pelicans, the Knicks are like, hold up, we got the 3rd pick. Let's see what we can get. That's what the Knicks.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, you got to do your due diligence with that.
They also know, like, how many teams right now, when we're hearing about teams moving up in the draft, who are they going for? Here's Garland.
Yeah.
We don't hear anybody like, I'm going for RJ Barrett. Right. All you hear this last couple of days is Darius Garland. He was
already picked to go to number 4 to the Lakers, probably.
The Knicks are going to take RJ. I would say the Knicks are going to take RJ now. You guys can get on me tomorrow if they don't. But what they're doing is finding out, as they should do, can we get a lot of picks? Can we get a Doncic situation? Because depending on what happens, we can sit here and be in it. But that's what will happen.
Ooh.
You would have to promise them.
Oh, you got to give me a lot for number 3.
If you're going to number 3,
you got to give me a lot. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because isn't that where that what's the name went from 5 to 3 last year, right?
Dallas.
Dallas went from
Atlanta.
5. From 5
Atlanta traded down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They went from 5 to 3.
Yeah.
And they got a first round pick for that.
What about the Atlanta Hawks rumors that they're trying to get to number 4? Does that change things for the Bulls?
I don't think they would take a point.
Yeah, but who would they want a number 4?
I think they would want RJ. I think they would love. They even want, if they're going, they want Hunter. I
was going to say Hunter.
Hunter, but see, if they can sit there and run, because they're going to be running down there.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like they're going to be. So there's going to be points enough because the best way to use Trae Young is to go. You don't want this kid slow in the half court. Not to say that you can't, but you want to go and take advantage of the fact that he's a quick little dude out there. So I think regardless when it comes to, if you're asking the question, is it going to affect the Bulls point guard wise? I don't think so.
That's only if they take Garland.
But again, I'll tell you this. I think they would take Garland because
who?
If they were going to take a point guard.
The Knicks?
Yes. Just because I think most of these people look at the fact that he can shoot. In this league, I mean, I don't think they would do it. But again, this is the excuse is, hey, if we got 2 shooters back there, we'll worry about the rest later. Or we got mini Vinny coming off the bench, microwave, basically. But when you look at these teams moving up, it doesn't seem like anyone's doing it for White.
If Garland does go, and if this happens with the Knicks, White is gone. He's not going to get past Phoenix. I don't think it's a chance.
That's true.
It's not even a chance. So it goes back to the point of, okay, you're the Bulls, and the number 1 target that you want to address in the draft and in free agency, it goes back to the point guard. What do? You
go through free agency.
Yeah, you got to go through.
But you probably should do that anyway.
Listen, honestly, I would. Yeah. It all depends on how much they're talking about spending.
That's what
now they have $20 million to spend, and looking at what's happening,
they stretch out Felicio.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just say they have $20 million to spend. You have Kemba out there. You have Kyrie out there.
Kemba's not coming.
And I don't think Kyrie is coming. Who's another big time point guard is available right now? Is it just them 2?
Yeah, big time. Emphasis on the word big time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my whole point.
I wouldn't.
Oh, Patrick Beverley. Do you want to try to give Patrick Beverley to come back home? No. I'm not saying that he is, but he's another point guard out there.
Case scenario, because I think Patrick Beverley, if he signs like a 3-year deal with the Bulls, wouldn't be mad if the point guard they draft this year starts to pass him up. Again, he would be under him in 2 years and he'll be home. Mm-hmm. I think if you sign Malcolm Brogdon, he's going to expect to start majority of that contract. As he should. Yeah, I'm not. But again, you're looking at the value of, and not to say you shouldn't, but you're looking at the value of trying to develop this point guard so that hopefully in the future he's either your point guard, your starting point guard, or you can get an asset from him for another team.
One more situation. Now, I don't know if this is likely at all, but Memphis is going to draft Ja Morant, which leaves Mike Conley available.
No.
Any chance the Bulls make a move for
Boston
that?
have him. I don't.
You got to trade for him, right?
Yeah.
How long is that deal?
30. He has about a year or two left.
Yeah, I would think max 2 years.
Yeah, max 2 years on that deal. But I mean, think about how much money he got. He was the highest paid NBA player 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So you know how much money he's gonna be. He's not gonna be looking. Not to say he's gonna get the same amount, but he's not gonna look to decrease that much, especially if he's in a losing situation or a team that's not contending. No, I love what Conley's done for himself coming out of Ohio State. But I don't want the Bulls to go into that situation because I feel like, and this is cutting off your nose to spite your face, I think they feel like they'd be ready-made to kind of move up, and it'll be false ready-madeness. It'd be like, it was not legit. It's not real.
It'll be like Rondo, Wade, and Butler. It's like, oh yeah, no, y'all should go ahead and break this down, but it went for one time.
It'd be better than that.
No, I'm saying.
I get what I'm just saying. It'd be better. But again, to add
that was false hope.
How can you be better than 3 alphas?
But to add to your point, another thing what you're saying to go with those players, it doesn't fit in your timeline on when this team should be ready to do something. And then we got to say this: Mike Conley's been really hurt. Like you don't want to get like especially for a team that's your excuse. When me guys are always injured, right. You don't want to be like, let's bring in someone who's injury prone. Like you have to kind of stay away from that. Yeah. You are not Phoenix. You're not the Raptors. You're not what Golden State seemed like they was. And I'm talking about teams that medical staffs are bandied about and talked about.
Phoenix back in the day.
That's not the Bulls. The Bulls medical staff is like, watch them, MFers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely think that's something that you don't want to do. You don't want to trade picks for Mike Conley. I wouldn't do. I wouldn't trade future assets for Mike Conley. Not unless I was right knocking on the door of a championship and they're not there right there.
And I don't think this is another thing. If you sign him, I mean, Mike Conley in another year. Teams, if he stays healthy, teams are going to be looking to sign him that are close, that may be closer than us, because there's going to be a lot of teams holding cash from this offseason because losing KD chops away a lot of the depth. And I know that's just one player, but if losing KD and Kawhi staying or moving, there's going to be teams like holding cash. Like, what am I going to do with this cash? Mm-hmm. And they may not sit there and use it this offseason, but they may sit there next offseason and be like, all right, we're waiting to see who's out here, depending on what takes place. And he may be the players out there. And you may have made this trade. Now you're not going to get anything back for Mike Conley because does he want to stay with the team that's not going to be contending? And he looks at Marc Gasol, his buddy. He's got a ring.
Yeah,
drinking a bottle of wine out there.
He was supposed to be in that trade. And they told him, no, we don't want you, Michael Conley. Yeah, I don't know. Listen,
I don't think they may not have wanted it. And I'm not.
But he was. Didn't they say he was part of that trade?
Better point guard.
Well, they wanted to trade him.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. I think he's better than Kyle Lowry, but I don't think he may have made the moments that Lowry did when he overcame whatever it was that was holding him back in the past.
Yeah. No, man, it's a lot of scenarios that can definitely happen with the Bulls. I don't know what's going to happen with number 7. I could see if Ken is. I hope Ken is right. Maybe Kobe White can fall to them. Maybe Garland can fall to him. I have no idea. But I can definitely see with the number 7 pick from Duke, Cam Reddish.
You're right. You're definitely right. There's nothing.
I can totally see it.
I mean, I think we've all had that throughout the year in our mind. Like, Cam Reddish.
And the kid's he's a good player. He is a good player. This
question is about Shorty's heart. And that's the last thing. That's the last thing I really want right now.
John Paxson going to be hemming him up in the Advocate Center.
That boy smacked the hell out of John Paxson. John Paxson.
Here come Wendell Carter. Wait a minute, hold on.
Give me your time.
Hold on. Wendell Carter, hold on, everybody. Let's be friends.
You know what?
Yeah.
I got a question, but I'll save it for you guys.
You sure?
Yeah, we'll save it.
Okay.
All right, on the other side of this break, we're going to close out the show. Dean Davis.
What's up, Chicago? This is Chris Sosa from Red Eye, and you're listening to the Dean Davis Show.
D and Davis Show. Hey, it's going to get ready to close up shop right here. But, hey, we still got some more topics to talk about. What dropped today, I think it was kind of a surprise. I know it was a surprise to me. Chris Paul and James Harden was like, bump you. No, bump you. You need to go.
Surprise to you?
Because I didn't.
That's I think we said when Chris Paul went there.
It wasn't a surprise to you?
Hell no.
Listen,
Chris Paul went there. We didn't think it was going to listen.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah, go.
So what came out today was CP3. Chris Paul went to the front office. Like, hey, listen, Daryl Morey, yeah, I want out. Mm-hmm. James Harden was like,
him or me,
get him the hell out. I mean, I think a lot of people probably saw based upon, like, you know what I'm saying, they couldn't get past Golden State, like, yeah, that's not the best thing, and they're not able to kind of do what they need to do to get past that. But I didn't see this beef like this. Behind the scenes beef?
Dude,
I didn't see this.
Chris Paul went there, we all thought it wouldn't work. One, because at that point, James Harden, who he basically did continue that, had switched over to play point guard. So he had been playing point. Remember, that's why he was getting all of those. So it was like, damn, how are they going to actually figure it out? They actually did.
They figured it out.
But we also talked about how Chris Paul, it grinds people, and then how would that work with the laissez-faire attitude of James Harden? No, this was supposed to happen.
Oh, I didn't see this.
This was by no means was I shocked on this. I'm surprised it lasted 2 years before we started hearing. Now again, the first year benefits them because they took the champs to Game 7.
Right.
So that's going to knock down and tamper all of the stuff compared to this year, compared to last year with Durant going down. They were supposed to win, and they had to really look at each other in the face and be like, it ain't gonna work between me and you. Paul allegedly wants to coach up Harden, and Harden's basically telling Paul, you can't beat your man, shut up and watch. And that was no,
you're not healthy.
This was going to happen. It ain't no surprise at all.
Yeah, you get the 2-year grace period of Chris Paul, right, before it all turns to hell.
That's true. But I'm talking about how from the reports of how contentious it was.
Chris Paul, dude. He's one of the most disliked players. He's one of the most disliked good players in the NBA.
Your players' union president.
Yes, because he's maniacal and he's advantageous. All right, like Chris,
he's an evil Bonds villain.
That every place we've heard Chris Paul's been like, this mug here. Hell no, I'm not surprised.
So looking at Chris Paul's contract, going to next year,
38 left,
138.5, 2021, 41.3. The next one's a player option that obviously he's probably going to take.
You think he not?
44.2.
He ain't going to leave 44 on the table.
Is he behind Melo on the banana boat?
Hell no.
Or does he get the last spot?
Oh, in my banana boat.
That's a good question.
My banana boat, he's ahead of Melo.
That should have been an up for grabs question.
My banana boat, he's ahead of Melo.
Bonus up for grabs, right?
He's ahead of Melo on my banana boat. Because even though, because listen, the problem with Chris Paul has been health and height. Melo has never wanted to be as complete a player as Chris Paul has aspired to be. Chris Paul came in the league, wasn't a great shooter, but listen, the last 3 or 4 years became an excellent three-point shooter that we didn't expect. Was known as one of the better point guard defenders. Listen, even until this past year was looked at as being one of the best PG defenders in the league.
Yeah.
Melo could score, and that was it. Never wanted to play defense, only wanted to get paid, didn't even want to sit there and set up his contract so he can go to Miami with D Wade and LeBron. No, I mean, Melo's all been about his money, and that's good for him. Chris Paul wanted to win. The problem with Chris Paul, he wants to win with Chris Paul being the point guard and coach. And because that accentuates being a diminutive player, his assets. So, but I'm going to go Bron, D Wade, Chris Paul, then Melo. Because listen, on top of that, which one's not in the NBA? And which one still has teams paying him $124 over 3 years?
That's true. That last point.
I want that Atlanta Hawks jersey.
Yeah, that last one. But only thing I would say, Melo was a cornerstone, although maybe it wasn't the best cornerstone, for two franchises as being the guy. Chris Paul, has he ever been for two? I said for two. Yeah. For two franchises. It's been like, hey, we need him to be the cornerstone.
Dude, yes.
For Charlotte, when they went for Charlotte down to New Orleans.
Even with the Clippers. Because Chris Paul...
You had Blake and you had DeAndre.
But remember, it wasn't legit till Chris Paul decided to stay there. Chris Paul's contract came up and the question was... Because remember, Chris Paul didn't initially want to be there. Was he going to resign there? Chris Paul was the person behind getting rid of... what was the owner of that team, the racist guy?
Donald Sterling.
Thank you, Donald Sterling.
Yeah.
Chris Paul was moving all types of weight behind it. Nah.
He was a player union rep. I mean, he was the president, right?
Yeah, but he was on the team.
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, this is not going to work. Like, nah, man. It's Chris Paul, man. It's Chris Paul. Because I'm
not fighting for him. I'm just saying.
Let's be honest. Even with Melo to the Knicks, it never meant nothing. Like when you it never meant.
Yeah, because he demanded they trade away their team.
Everybody
could have walked in free agency.
Right.
Donnie Walsh, former president of the Indiana Pacers, who was in charge of the Knicks, didn't want to make the move because they were clear. Everyone and their mama knew Melo was coming there in the offseason. It made no sense. Dolan steps in, and then they trade away all their assets. And this was the first time we heard about Masai Ujiri and getting the job done. So, nah, man. I'm going with CP3. And listen, I'm going with CP3, and guess what? Damn, on his old team. It's not even I can hear somebody in the stands complaining about Pedro Stokes' cap, right, being tilted right now. If his cap was straight, he wouldn't have gave up that home run. But it's CP3 all the way. Even though he can be an ass, but he's an ass that's tried to get everything out of his.
Oh yeah, he did, and he's developing. He was arguably one time the best point guard in the league. CP is definitely a bona fide Hall of Fame.
Was ever Melo the best small forward in the league? And we know that's not true because LeBron's been in the league.
No, LeBron's been in the same time. No, not at all. Listen, like I said, the behind the scenes before what's coming out is like, damn, okay, I know it was that contentious.
Yeah, I would have.
So wait a minute. So here's a question. Mm-hmm. So what's going to happen? Where's CP3 going?
He's not going anywhere because they're
going to make it work. That took place. You two figured it out?
That took place before Golden State had those injuries. That's why a week ago we heard everybody and maybe Harden was up for trade. And now we've heard we're going to run it back because They better. Yeah, I would. If they're healthy. I'm not going to say they should be in the Western Conference Finals if they're healthy. If they're healthy, they should be in the Western Conference Finals. But then let me say this too, that adds to all of that. Then you got Mike D'Antoni as the head coach. And we know he's never been viewed as someone who could put out fires and lead men. All right, he has a fantastic offensive system that doesn't work in the playoffs, basically. All right, yeah, I know if Steve Nash didn't get...
Yeah, he doesn't make it no better.
Mark Stoudemire didn't get suspended that game. Yeah, I know. But guess what? It's never worked outside of that, and that didn't end up working.
Yeah, and they really should have won that series last year when KD went down. And
you mean this year?
This year. Or yeah, I'm sorry, this year.
Yeah.
They should have won that series, and Mike D'Antoni didn't do anything.
I tell you, I was about to say, you know who would have done something, and still you got to have Harden, your best player, go along with it. And I'm only doing this as tongue in cheek. Nick Nurse would have figured that out.
Boxing one.
I was about to say boxing one.
Boxing one.
2-1-2, y'all. 2-1-2. All high school zones out here. Like,
that's always been a problem with me with Mike D'Antoni. I remember when he was up for the Bulls before they got, Tibbs right before? Mm-hmm. D'Antoni doesn't seem like an in-game adjuster at all.
Why? Because
he just seems
like
a
system,
right?
Yeah,
They're just this
it's
system, and this is it.
Go.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of. But you know, a lot.
And that's a losing remedy in the playoffs because you can actually pregame for people. It's a 7-game series.
It gives you false hope because it does so well in the regular season. But as Kobe Bryant said before the playoffs even started, it's like, man, yeah, what James Harden doing is great. Man, ain't gonna win in the playoffs.
And I think
it sure the hell didn't.
What we saw from Toronto with how many ball handlers they had and guys that could pass and play make, like who's doing that on Houston really besides Harden and Paul?
That's it.
Eric Gordon maybe hitting some shots. Does he do any kind of creation?
He's a spot up 3-point shooter.
No, he did better than that this year.
No, this season he definitely did. You know what? That series, they don't
run a system to get Eric Gordon involved. He's cold and on the side. Like what you're saying, if they're moving around, passing. Look, Toronto does a little bit of ISO and go, but they're still moving the ball around. This you go, I go thing with Houston, and man, look, they was lucky last year to get where they got. And that was the time to take advantage of it.
You want the year before last?
Yeah, the year before last. They were lucky then to get where they got. So, I mean, I saw CP3 and Harden batting heads. I mean, even to put it all on CP3, and then again, it's gonna be the player I mentioned. Remember, Harden and Dwight didn't get along. Again, it's Dwight. But still, like, nah, man.
Speaking of Dwight, he came out and said that he is a Hall of Famer. What do you all say?
He's definitely born.
I mean, based on the basketball Hall of Fame.
It's basketball Hall of Fame. How can he not be? His basketball Hall of Fame. Hey, was he the best player at his position over an extended amount of time?
Yes, he was.
He's Hall of Fame.
Probably about 4 or 5 years.
Easily to say. If not, he was number 2. Listen,
behind
you can
who?
argue the year.
Who?
I would have to go look and see who those years who was coming up. Because I think you could
Powell, maybe? Did he play the 5?
Maybe Bynum. I definitely know Shaq would have said that. Man, don't forget how Bynum was good.
He was good when he was here.
And we're talking about and I'm talking about legit back down. Remember, Dwight Howard never had a post game.
Yeah.
All right.
For those 2 seasons, they won a championship.
Yeah. So
he had 2 rings.
It would probably be maybe you could put Bynum again. The thing still is this: it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. And Dwight Howard, which we're dissing for everybody that's listening, Dwight Howard was the best player at his position, or at least the second or third best player. And the year they made it to the finals, he was arguably at least the second best player in the NBA. He was in the top 5. Let me put it like that. He was in the top 5 because you still needed centers back then of the best players in the NBA. So you could give me LeBron, you can give me Kobe, you can give me Tim Duncan. He was right around that area.
Man, Dwight that year took down LeBron in Cleveland. What was that, Game 7 too?
I don't remember.
Man, Dwight Howard, is he one of the biggest disappointments since the 2000s?
I don't think it's been a disappointment. I don't think it's been a disappointment.
And let's not forget, he was damaged. He was damaged and then rushed to come back for the Lakers. He wasn't supposed to be there at the beginning of the season, and he's never been the same player. And yeah, I heard Tracy McGrady say this when he was talking about when Dwight went to the Lakers, and he was on the jump talking about, I didn't expect for the Lakers to win because he was like, it was his back. He's a big. Like, he's never been the same player after that. So, yeah, his antics can get on your nerves, but was it Dwight's fault that when his back went out, he wasn't as dominant? And even though he wasn't as dominant, he was still a top 5 big when he was in Houston. If you look at his rebounds and rim protection, it's still what you wanted.
All right, Dwight Howard, from 2006 to 2014, he was an all-star. So basically for 7 years, almost a decade, he was an all-star. So yeah, and granted, like you said before, it is the Basketball Hall of Fame. So I ain't gonna say everybody can get in, but I mean those years, man, they definitely did
come out of high school, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And who did he ever play with on his teams? Rashard Lewis, Hedo Turkoglu.
Yeah, that's the year they went to the championship.
His name?
Jameer Nelson.
Yeah, Jameer. Like he never had a legit dog with him.
No, and he made it to the NBA Finals. That was pretty big.
I mean, his only legit dogs are Harden and Bryant. That's it.
Yeah.
But even then,
Kobe wanted to kill him.
Even then, he wasn't mentally. He wasn't, but physically, he wasn't the same dude.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was definitely not in his prime like Orlando.
No, he was only in LA for 1 year. He's 27 years old.
I don't know. I just feel some disappointment.
How old is he right now?
33.
Dude, think about over the last 6 years.
He's been in the league since he was 19.
The last crazy dunking you've seen Dwight. Let's just let you know how he's been hindered. Mm-hmm. Like the type of dunker that he was and how it's diminished. Like, dude's man, look, again, he's a head case. I'm not by any means absolving him of that. But his body betrayed him, and before, we never heard about him being lazy. The only knockout aside of his childishness was further development in his game. Which, again, with his lower half, he didn't have a big ass and legs to be the post player that people wanted him to be. Still not saying he couldn't have developed that game further.
8-time All-Star, 2-time block champion, 5-time All-Defensive, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 8-time NBA All-NBA, 8-time All-NBA, and the Rookie of the Year 2004,
yeah,
2005.
That's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
3-time Defensive Player of the Year. And listen, if they was fair, depending on how they throw that award around now, he damn near could have got 5 of them. Because I forget who I always think Ben Wallace got more than he deserved. And somebody
got
else,
what, 2?
No,
he got more than 2.
Yes.
About 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Ben Wallace, and it's another person that's out there been stealing them. I think I can't think about the last 3 or 4 years.
You know, Draymond got one.
No, I'm not dissing Draymond.
Didn't Clay get one?
Did Rudy get one?
Rudy Gobert?
Yeah, did Rudy get one last year, or is he up for one this year?
I don't know.
He may get one.
Oh, I think Rudy might have won it last year.
Yeah,
he did win it last year.
Games.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. And I'm guessing TBR means total rebound, so 5-time total rebound champ as well. Hey, listen, he does have a.
People hating on him when he said that. He said that before, but he is, man. It's who's give me a better big. Give me 5 better bigs when he was healthy.
I can't think of any. Because that was about the time the transition was happening away from bigs. Mm-hmm. Is Chris Webber in the Hall of Fame
that happened to him? Not yet. That happened to him too.
Will he get in before Chris Webber?
No. He's still playing. Chris Webber's retired.
Is he really playing?
Yeah, he'll be back there. Chris Webber's retired. I mean, you can a big
That's
man,
true.
A big man can always get a check.
Yeah, that's true.
How about Meta World Peace breaking up Ben Wallace's streaks of Defensive Player of the Year? 1-2 in 02-03, Meta World Peace in 04, 05-06 for Ben Wallace.
Ben Wallace, they was just giving him. That was when the NBA was lazy. They were perimeter, because that was still where they were giving it to him in ways that they didn't give it to Dikembe Mutombo. like bigs that had been even more defensively dominant than Ben Wallace. And Ben Wallace really was best as a help defender more than an on-ball defender. So I'm talking about guys who could do it. Ron Artest could do it every on-ball and coming as a help defender. Like players like that. So Ben Wallace, and again, I'm not taking away from Ben Wallace, but Ben Wallace was a scam.
Well, who has won the Defensive Player of the Year after the reign of Ben Wallace?
Right after that was Marcus Camby in 07.
Marcus All won one.
Kevin Garnett
Marcus
in 08.
Camby was doing his thing.
He was, yeah.
And with Denver. Dwight Howard won the next 3 from 09 to 11. Tyson Chandler in 12. Marcus All in 13. Joakim Noah in 14.
That's right.
Kawhi Leonard the next 2 years. Draymond Green in 17. And Rudy Gobert.
Remember, too, it's been used. So in that Joe year and in that Dwight year, they use it to give it to the guy that was a really good defender that played better on offense, but they don't want to give him the MVP. They just give that guy the Defensive Player of the Year. It's just like, all right, you're a good defender, but we're not going to give you the MVP because probably LeBron's going to win it this year. But here, take this Defensive Player of the Year. Because remember, Joe had been playing that defensive thing was that everyone was hurt. Joe was playing point center, basically. So it was more attention to him.
He was like third in the MVP vote.
That's what I'm saying. He was in top 5.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Got him he was clearly going to get Defensive Player of the Year because of that. Yeah. And Dwight Howard getting to the finals, he was clearly people was going to put him in the MVP voting, but he wasn't going to supersede the guys who are already legit.
Hey, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at D and Davis Show. Once again, it's at D and Davis Show. Download the podcast, subscribe, rate, share, all that good stuff. iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Music, Stitcher, TuneIn app. We're on Anchor and YouTube as well. I'm on Twitter at Demonz1, DEMONZE1. Ken is on Twitter at That's Davis. And make sure you follow Ryan on Twitter at Ryan B. Ski.
Shout out to Ryan again for doing such an excellent job taking over for Tony.
Yes.
Make
Thank
sure
you, brother.
Listen to Tony on the Lawrence Holmes Show and the NBA Draft. You hear him on the commercials for the score. Clap it up for our brothers doing great stuff, excellent things, and he deserves it. We want to definitely thank Sean Highkin for joining us, and we also want to thank Darnell Mayberry for joining us. 2 great guys. I guess I may be on this flip. I probably won't, depending on the weather this weekend. So make sure you tune into the guys and how they're going to be cutting up, and then come back next week for more Dan Davis the Show. Don't do anything stupid before you hear from us again.
Keep your hands to yourself.